Hi guys, it's me Shazza HD and welcome to qualifying day at the 2019 Monaco Grand Prix, and this is without a doubt the most exciting day on a Monaco Grand Prix weekend because we get to see quite possibly, and well literally, the fastest cars in Formula 1 history going around and just about dodging the barriers around Monte Carlo at some absolutely incredible speeds. And it is going to be very exciting to see how the cars do in qualifying. And qualifying is definitely very, very important at Monaco. And this is the most important qualifying session of a season because of just how hard it is, of course, to pass on race day on a Sunday. But yeah, for qualifying today, it's going to be good. Going to be a lot of excitement, especially in the midfield. Things at the top looking a bit closer than it was after Thursday afternoon. So I think we are going to be in for definitely some talking points. Wouldn't be surprised if we have a couple of crashes. So it is, I think, going to be a good session today. Hopefully you guys, no matter where you're in the world, are having a good Saturday. What it is for me, a Saturday afternoon. Hopefully you're having a good day. And no matter where you are in the world, hopefully you are ready to enjoy qualifying along with us. But before I get on to previewing the top teams and how I think they will do in qualifying today, let me first go into the results of practice 3, which finished about an hour ago. Here are those results. Charles Leclerc was fastest. The home driver, of course, is Charles Leclerc. From Valtteri Bottas second, Lewis Hamilton third, Max Verstappen fourth, Pierre Gasly fifth, Antonio Giovinazzi very surprisingly in P6, then Danny Kvyat P7, Magnussen P8, Raikkonen P9, and Alexander Albon in P10. And then your bottom 10 are the two Renaults of Hülkenberg and Ricciardo, then Grosjean, then Sebastian Vettel, who did have a crash at the first corner into Saint-Devoux in practice 3. So that's why he ended up in P14. And then 15th is Carlos Sainz, 16th is Lando Norris, 17th is Sergio Perez, 18th is Lance Stroll, 19th Kubica, and 20th is George Russell. So that is the results from practice 3 earlier on. And let me just clear my throat before I go on to the top teams. But now let's go on to those top teams and start off with, of course, Mercedes. Now, they are still, even though in practice 3 they did not have the fastest time, they are definitely still the favourites. They have what should be the best car around this track. Their car on Thursday looked spectacular at times compared to Ferrari and Red Bull. And I think realistically, they are the team to beat. And they are going to be most likely getting the front row. I think in practice 3, they were definitely holding back quite a lot compared to what they really could do. And I think they were kind of making it look a bit closer than I think it will be in qualifying. But yeah, Mercedes, I think, will definitely have the best car. I don't think it will be by 3/4 of a second or a second. I think it's likely to be half a second clear that they will be of the rest of the field. But yeah, Mercedes definitely looking good going into this session, and they are without a doubt, as ever, the favourites for pole position and also a front row lockout. Next up is Ferrari. Now, yes, in practice 3, Ferrari didn't look that bad. They actually looked pretty good compared to how they were at times on Thursday, but realistically, I think they will drop back. I don't think they can get pole position today. If they did, it'd be amazing, and it would maybe, say, half guarantee a race victory on the Sunday because of how important pole position is at this track. But yeah, realistically, they're not going to get pole. The best they can hope for, I think, is P4 on the grid, because I think the two Mercedes cars are going to be very, very quick, and I think the Red Bull Max Verstappen definitely also has more to show, as I'll get onto in a moment. So I think Ferrari, as a team, the best they can hope for is P4 and then P5 with the other driver. I think Pierre Gasly is someone who they're definitely going to be competing with in qualifying today. They might get not that far away from Max Verstappen's best lap time, but I think Max Verstappen will beat the two Ferraris to most likely P3, maybe even a P2 on the grid if it's as close as it was in practice 3. But Ferrari just need to go out there, give it everything and see what happens, because, well, we're not expecting them to do well. This track is not supposed to be a good Ferrari track. Their car still doesn't look that great around this track. So as long as they go out there, give it their all, do the best they can, that's all you can ask of them, because their car, I just don't think is quite good enough around the streets of Monte Carlo for a pole position. And next up is Red Bull. Now, Red Bull, I think, do have a very good opportunity of being the closest team to Mercedes and definitely getting a strong, say, finish onto that second row. Now, with Max Verstappen, I do expect Max to be getting in that top 3, because I think in qualifying speed around this track, he will be very, very good. And I think the Red Bull car is a better car, rather than better track. It's a better car around this track than the Ferrari is. So I think Red Bull should be getting a car into the top 3 at this track. And I think if they don't, they will be very, very disappointed with their car and how it has performed around this track. For Pierre Gasly, I think the best he can do is really P4. If he beats the two Ferraris in qualifying today, that would be a great qualifying session from Pierre Gasly, in my opinion. And if he does do that, then I think he is setting himself up for a good race result tomorrow. But I'm not too sure if Gasly will do it, because, I mean, he has disappointed so many times this season as Pierre in terms of where he should be qualifying and finishing. So I'm not quite sure whether he can do it. I think he definitely can do it, considering the car he has. But in terms of his own ability, I have a feeling he might disappoint and end up in P6 on the grid. But we'll see, of course, what happens in qualifying, which you can see in the top left, of course, gets underway in about 52 minutes time. But guys, let me know right now in the live chat, for the top teams, Mercedes, Ferrari and Red Bull, what do you see happening for them in this session? For Mercedes, do you think they are the favourites for pole position? Or do you think that Red Bull or Ferrari can get close enough to go for pole? For Ferrari, do you think they will surprise us and be a lot closer to pole than I thought they were going to be coming into this weekend? And for Red Bull, do you think that they can get into the top 3 on the grid with that car? I think they absolutely can, but it is definitely going to be close at times with the other teams at the top. Let me know in the live chat what you think, and I'll read out your comments before we get into qualifying, of course, and we get into the the next part of this stream. Just want to say though, don't forget to subscribe for more content like this, as I will be doing the race watch along about the same time tomorrow for, of course, the 2019 Monaco Grand Prix. And also, there will be a review of qualifying later on, but it's going to be a bit different to what it normally is. I'll get into that once qualifying finishes, because it's actually going to be kind of taking place during this stream. So I'll get onto that later on. But if you want to be around for that content later on, then don't forget to subscribe. And of course, hit the notifications bell. You can either subscribe on the bottom right of the screen or go to my homepage, click subscribe, and there you can hit the notifications bell. And don't forget as well to hit this video with a like. But before I go on to reading your comments, I'll just have a quick drink and then I'll get on to reading them very, very soon. Right, so let's see what you guys in the live chat have to say. By the way, great to see already 128 of you already here. But now, let me get reading through some of these comments. Nib, who, by the way, Nib is going to be on the qualifying watch along later on. He will probably join us in about, I don't know, 30 to 35 minutes time for the prediction part of the stream, and then, of course, for the qualifying part of the stream as well. So he will be along very, very soon. He says no grid penalty for Charles Leclerc. Now, if you don't know what that's a reference to, it's a reference to Charles Leclerc in practice 3, because when Sebastian Vettel crashed at turn 1, a virtual safety car was deployed, and during the virtual safety car, Charles Leclerc was found to be speeding under the virtual safety car, but has not, luckily for him, got a grid penalty. So that's good for him, and he can now go into qualifying with, well, knowing that he doesn't have a penalty and knowing that he can go out there and get a good enough position for himself. Right, let me read out some more comments here. Addiction says Ferrari can't beat Verstappen. It's going to be tough for them to beat Verstappen because, as we've seen in 2019, Max tends to get the best out of the Red Bull car and himself, and is very quick at Monaco. Yes, he does make mistakes at Monaco, but he is very quick at Monaco, so it is going to be tough for Ferrari to do that. Dennis O'Boyle asks, will Vettel participate in qualifying? Yep, he will. He absolutely will. His crash definitely takes some repairing, but it won't be, you know, massively long. It will definitely be ready for qualifying. Let's just hope, for Ferrari's sake, that he doesn't go do the same thing again at the start of qualifying. Right, let me read out some more here. Crystal Racing says, got a bit of a flat feeling about qualifying. I think if you're looking at practice 3 as an indicator as to what will happen in qualifying, I don't think you should. Because I think Mercedes were definitely holding back a lot in terms of what they could really do. And I think they were making it look a lot closer than it actually is. So if you're going to look at a certain session to see how quick they can be, I would say look at practice 2 on Thursday, because I think that was a lot more representative of what they can do against Ferrari and Red Bull. Now, I know the nearest car to them was Vettel, who was, what, 3/4 of a second off, but I think Max Verstappen would have been the closest car if he didn't have an issue with his car in practice 2. And I think he would have been only half a second off, not, you know, 3/4 of a second off like Sebastian Vettel was. So it won't be as close, I think, as it was in practice 3. But of course, we can always hope. Right, let me see some more comments. Toro Loco says, what happened to the rain predicted? Yeah, there was rain predicted, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. There is a rumour about rain tomorrow, which, if there is, oh my god, will tomorrow's Grand Prix be exciting. I really, really hope it is, but realistically, I don't think there will be any rain this weekend. It doesn't rain really that much in Monaco on a Monaco Grand Prix weekend. It's quite rare, to be honest, we get rain. It normally tends to be kind of overcast, kind of sunny, and very, very, very warm. So, yeah, rain is not really that likely. Right, let me read out a few more comments and then we'll go on to the midfield. Kurt Borman, how did Leclerc top the last session? Were Mercedes sandbagging? Yes, I think they were. I think Mercedes were definitely sandbagging. No doubt about it. There's no way Ferrari are going to end up on pole. I just don't see it. They don't have enough of a car for me to do so. Right, let me find a couple more. Astro Stevo says Mercedes are favourites for pole, but someone else could surprise Al Verstappen and the Ferraris. Love to see Leclerc take his first pole. Well, wouldn't be his first ever pole position, of course, because he got that in Bahrain, but it would be his first pole at his home track. And then says strange things can happen. Indeed, they can. Monaco can be weird. It can be similar to Baku in terms of how chaotic it can be, but I don't think it will be as chaotic as qualifying was in Baku about a month ago. Right, let me find a final comment, and then we'll get on to the midfield, a very close midfield here in Monaco. People saying Christian Horner said tomorrow's race will be horrible, indicating it will rain. I've heard it all before. I mean, there was the Spanish Grand Prix in 2018. There was a 90% chance of rain, and it was sunny for most of the Grand Prix. So I am not going to believe that. I will believe the rain when I see the rain. That's how you should, do it when it comes to rain in Formula One. Don't think it'll rain. Only, believe it's raining when it's actually raining. Right. Let me find one final comment. Remy Daniel says Vettel should just go out and do what he does best and worry with all the hype. That goes for Leclerc as well. Yeah, as I said earlier, what Ferrari need to do is go out there, give it everything, and just see where they end up, because they don't have really any... I don't think Ferrari have any pressure this weekend. I mean, I know they've had a bad start to 2019 compared to where they want to be, but we know they're not going to be that good this weekend. So if they just go out there, give it everything, that's all you can ask for. So maybe with not that much or really any pressure at all on Ferrari, maybe they will actually go out there and give it everything they've got and get the best result they can out of the weekend. But then again, it is Ferrari we are talking about. But I think now we will go on to the midfield. Now let's start off with Renault, who this weekend I don't think have been looking that great, to be honest. In practice 3, they ended up P11 and P12, which was a lot better than what they did in practice 2 on Thursday, where they were 16th and 17th. So looking better, but still not looking good enough for Renault, and I think they are going to really, really struggle to get 2 cars into the top 10. The best they can hope for is getting 1 car into the top 10, but honestly, I would not be surprised if Renault ended up with both cars knocked out in Q2, and maybe even one of their cars knocked out in Q1, because this season has been so disappointing for Renault. They've only had 1 Q3 appearance this season, and that was as a team at the Chinese Grand Prix. Actually, no, 2 Q3 appearances at China and in Catalonia, for a team that should be making that a regular occurrence. So yeah, don't expect that much from Renault. I wouldn't actually be surprised if they end up really disappointing and ending up, say, P13 or P14. They don't look to have that good of a car this weekend, especially compared to teams like Alfa Romeo, Toro Rosso, and at times as well, Haas F1. Next up is McLaren. Now, McLaren don't tend to... Well, they're not looking that great, let's be honest. They're not looking that great. And that's not really a massive surprise, because their car, if you've noticed in 2019 so far, at tracks where you need, say, better straight line speed, or you need, very good straight line speed to at least have a good weekend, say tracks like Bahrain, Baku, circuits like that, McLaren have been very strong. But at the tracks where we have a lot more corners and the track is a lot more reliant on grip, especially aerodynamic and mechanical grip, they just don't tend to really perform that well. And I think if you look at practice 3, it kind of is happening again for McLaren at a track where you need good grip. They just don't have it, because I don't think the car aerodynamically is really as good as it could be. The McLaren car aerodynamically is not bad, but it's not something that you can say is absolutely fantastic or anything like that. It's not something to write home about. It's an okay aerodynamic package, I think, for McLaren. And because it's Monaco, and because, again, you need very high grip at this track, and McLaren do tend to struggle on those kind of tracks so far in 2019, I think McLaren are going to have a bit of a struggle in qualifying today. I would honestly be surprised if they got a car into the top 10. I don't think they will. I think the best they could hope for is, say, a P12 or a P13. Don't think they're going to be that strong. So, yeah, if you're a McLaren fan, I wouldn't expect anything massive in qualifying. Now, let's go on to a team in Alfa Romeo who have been very, very surprising this weekend. Coming into the Monaco Grand Prix weekend, I honestly thought Alfa would be at the back of the midfield, say 14th, 15th, 16th place. But this weekend, they look as though they have one of, if not arguably, the best car in the midfield. Now, I don't think they will end up at the front of the midfield. I think Toro Rosso, as we'll get onto in a moment, do have the best midfield car around this type of track. But Alfa are looking very, very strong, and it is a massive surprise because if you look at Barcelona, they weren't really that good at all around a track where you do need a lot of grip. But here, they tend to look very, very strong. It's very interesting how that's worked out for them. Hopefully for them, that does continue because they really do need to start responding to the last couple races where they've not got, I think, the best result possible from the car they do have, and they do need to respond as well to McLaren pulling away in P4 in the Constructors. So, looking good for Alfa, and I really hope that they can keep that up because it would be great to see that team nicely in the top 10 with teams like Toro Rosso and maybe a Renault as well. But yeah, looking good for Alfa Romeo, and don't be surprised if they get even both cars into the top 10 because they have looked honestly that good this weekend. Next up, Haas. Haas, I think, are looking all right. They're not looking too bad. They're not looking as good as they were in Barcelona, but that's not a shock or anything because historically Haas have never been that great at Monaco anyway. So it's not a massive shock. But it is nice to see that they haven't dropped massively far back this weekend compared to how they were at the Spanish Grand Prix, just like they did last year in 2018, where they went from being at the front of the midfield at the Spanish Grand Prix of 2018 to being basically the back of the midfield. So, looking good for Haas. I'm not too sure, honestly, where they'll qualify. It's a bit weird to say because, again, and I've said this plenty of times, you don't know what you're going to get with this team. They could end up having a terrible qualifying and getting knocked out in Q1, or they could get both cars into Q3. You don't know what they're going to do. Given what we've seen so far this weekend, I think Haas will get a car very close, if not just about into the top 10. I think they do have a good enough car to do that. I don't see them getting both cars in, though. I don't think they can. I just don't think their car is that good around this track like it was in Barcelona, where they were easily the best team in the midfield and they had a comfortable gap to the rest of the midfield as well. But definitely looking good for Haas. Looking better, I think, than expected. And I think for them, as long as they get a top 10 starting position, I think they'll be very happy with that. Preferably for them, if they were to start P8 or P9, that would be a good position to start, at least for them, with their highest car. But yeah, looking good for Haas, and I think definitely are in for a good day today. Next up, Toro Rosso. I think Toro Rosso are going to have the best car in the midfield today because their car, I think after the Spanish Grand Prix, did take a step forward compared to the rest of the field. And I think the car around this track is really looking good. Historically, they've been always good at this track. And I think they'll continue this weekend. They also have two drivers in their car that are very good at Monaco. Alexander Albon, for example, on Thursday was very, very quick. Danny Kvyat was very quick this morning in the Toro Rosso, ending up in P7. So looking good for Toro Rosso. And I think they will have the best midfield car. I don't think they'll necessarily finish at the front of the midfield and lock out the fourth row. But I think the first midfield car after the top teams will be a Toro Rosso. I really do think that because their car has been so good this weekend. So definitely watch out for Toro Rosso. They are looking mega strong around the streets of Monte Carlo. Next up, Racing Point. Racing Point have the worst car in the midfield without a doubt. Their car does not seem to have really any grip. I think Sergio Perez honestly is doing the best he can in that Racing Point. I don't think there's any more that he could get out of the car. He's doing the best he can with what is a terrible car around this track. But for Lance Stroll, he definitely is not getting the best out of this Racing Point car because this weekend he has honestly been closer to the Williams drivers than he has been to the rest of the field. I mean, in practice too, he was over a second behind the nearest car. And then only about, half a second clear of the Williamses? That's very poor because, as we know, the Williams is basically an F2 car compared to the midfield and the rest of the field. It's a terrible car, the Williams. So to be within a second of a Williams is terrible. And he definitely has to pick up his game. I think he will definitely, Lance, get knocked out in Q1. I think both Racing Points honestly will, because their car just seems to be very poor. But for Lance Stroll, after this Grand Prix, he has to sit down with himself and work out how to improve his one lap pace, because his race pace is absolutely fine. His race pace is fine, but his qualifying speed is so bad. Even though at some races this season, like Baku, the Racing Point has been arguably the best car in the midfield, he has still got knocked out in Q1. The guy is, without a doubt, the worst qualifier in Formula 1. No doubt about it. I cannot explain why he is that bad when it comes to qualifying. I honestly don't get it. I don't get how you can be that bad in qualifying and then be not great but good in terms of race pace. I honestly don't get it. I mean, we've seen drivers in the past that have had, you know, better race pace than qualifying pace. For example, Kimi Raikkonen. Kimi Raikkonen is always better when it comes to a race than qualifying. But his qualifying pace is still very close to his race pace in terms of how far off he is certain drivers and where he is in the pack. But with Stroll, it's, you know, he's either, or in qualifying, he's at the back, basically. And then in the race, in terms of race pace, he's at the front of the midfield at times, in terms of the lap times he's doing. So, very poor for Lance. Has to improve his qualifying speed. But yeah, for Racing Point, I think they will be at the back of the midfield pack. They will beat Williams. I think they would really be an absolutely shocking team if they were to be beaten by Williams. But yeah, I think they will get both cars knocked out in Q1. And last of all is Williams, who of course will be at the back. Hopefully for their sake, Lance Stroll continues to disappoint so they can maybe nick a position. Because you never know, if Lance is really poor and doesn't get a lap together and say Russell or Kubica do, you never know. They could end up out qualifying another car. So you never know, could happen, and it would be great for them considering how poor Williams have been in 2019. But guys, right now in the live chat, let me know, what do you think will happen in the midfield battle? Who do you think will end up at the front of the midfield? Who do you think will disappoint? Say for teams like Renault and McLaren, do you think they can have a better qualifying than what they showed in practice 3? Do you think Haas can be competitive? Do you think Alfa Romeo can keep up the pace they have had this weekend? Do you think Toro Rosso do have the best midfield car? And what do you think about Lance Stroll's one-lap speed? Let me know right now in the live chat. And for the next few minutes, I'll read out your comments, and then we will start to get onto the predictions for qualifying here for the 2019 Monaco Grand Prix. But let me just mute my mic and have a quick drink, and then I'll come back to you guys in the comments. Right, so let's see what all you guys have to say in regards to the midfield, and who you think is going to be good, not so good, and yeah, what you think of certain teams as well. JB asks, Chaz, what do you think, or who do you think will get into Q3 in terms of the midfield? I think both Toro Rossos, an Alfa and a Haas. I think that will be the midfield drivers or midfield cars that get into the top 10. I don't think a Renault, honestly, can get in there. I just don't think they can. I don't think the speed is there. But yeah, Haas and Alfa, I think, will get one car in, and Toro Rosso will get both cars in. Michael Arvin says Alfa will both be in top 10 in qualifying, and Daniel Ricciardo, according to him, will be in P10, and Williams will be last, 4 cars, and he also says Haas will not make it into Q3. Astro Stevo says Toro Rosso looking good. Alfa maybe think Albon and Kimi will be top of the midfield, assuming they finish without any dramas. Yep, Albon, Kimi, also Kvyat looking very, very quick this weekend. Cyber Trader saying Kvyat, great practice. Right, let me see. Let me find some more comments here. Crystal Racing says, and it's a good point, and I might as well get onto it quickly now. Giovinazzi has suddenly turned up, says Crystal Racing. Yeah, it's really surprising, because I don't remember him having a particular great race around here in F2, or it was GP2 at the time, but is now F2. I don't remember him having a great race. I don't think he got on the podium or anything. I might be wrong, of course, but it is a bit of a surprise. Yeah, it is. But then again, he has been improving, so it's not a massive surprise that he is better than he was at the start of the season, because I think you can see for sure that Antonio definitely has stepped up his game. I mean, look at Baku, where he outqualified his teammate, and if he didn't have the penalty, I think he would have been right there at the front of the midfield with other teams like McLaren and Racing Point. But yeah, it's great for him. And another thing that really helps his case in terms of keeping that seat for 2020 is that Monaco is really a driver's circuit. Of course, in Formula 1 nowadays, the cars are very, very important, and I'd say nowadays the cars are probably the most important to performance they've ever been. But Monaco, compared to other tracks like, say, Barcelona, Monaco is definitely a driver's circuit where you get to see, who has the biggest balls, who really is the men amongst boys in the drivers or amongst the driver lineup. So that's great for him to so far showcase what he has, but hopefully for him he continues that and doesn't, you know, show it only briefly, because if he can consistently do that during qualifying, then he could really shine during qualifying and also get an important finish for his team. Right. By the way, in regards to Leclerc and FP3, it was only a reprimand for Charles Leclerc. No penalty or anything like that. Prakar says, asks, will Vettel take part? Yes, he will. He'll definitely get his car fixed in time. Right, let me find some more comments here. Cyber Trader, what about McLaren? McLaren, well, as I said, because this track requires more grip and because the McLaren car tends to struggle on tracks where you need more grip, I think they are going to be probably getting knocked out at the back end of Q2, honestly. I hope they can improve from what they were like in practice 3 and also the whole weekend, really. But realistically, that's what I think they are going to be like this weekend or in today's qualifying. Dexter Holt asks, are Ferrari back on pace? I don't think so. I don't think they are. I think they will definitely drop back compared to how they were in practice 3. E7 Suspect says, it's a shame the cars are so wide. Tomorrow might be worse than China. Can I say, I don't think that race, and I don't think 2019 has actually been as bad as people have been making out. Because if you look at the races, yes, of course, Mercedes have had 5 consecutive 1-2 finishes, but can I just make this point? Just because a certain team or driver wins regularly, that does not mean a race is automatically boring. What happens in the race determines whether the race is boring, not you know, this result happened, so it must be boring. That doesn't mean a race is boring. Australia, for me, I thought was pretty good. Bahrain was great. That was one of the best races I've seen in a while. Shanghai, I thought was a lot better than other people thought. I thought that was an okay race. Baku, okay. Spain, kind of the same. So I don't think this season's been that bad. I mean, have we had great races on a regular basis? No, of course we haven't. But it's not been as bad as plenty of people out there have been saying. And I think a lot of it is hyperbole, honestly. A lot of hyperbolic, you know, comments and responses to how 2019 has been so far. I don't think it has been as bad as people honestly have been making out. But of course, that's the great thing about opinions. Everyone has a different one. JB says, completely agree, Chaz. I hate people who judge a race by result. I also, yeah, I do. I don't hate people, but I hate the argument that they use for that. That because a certain driver or a certain team wins a race, it's automatically boring for some reason. That does not make any sense to me. For example, if you go to 2011 and 2013, people will tell you, oh, those were boring seasons. But if you actually go back and look at the races, a lot of them are great. They're great races. It just so happens that a lot of them end up with the same winner. But that doesn't matter. For example, I know the ending of the race was great with the new leader, but the 2011 Canadian Grand Prix had Sebastian Vettel leading every lap until the final lap. I mean, if he had won the race and not bottled it, would it have been a bad race? No, of course it wouldn't have. Even though, yes, he was winning every race. It just doesn't make any sense to me. But anyway, I think I'll stop ranting. And we'll now get on to the predictions for qualifying here in Monaco. So, let me just get it ready. And now let's get straight into it. So, on pole position for me will be Lewis Hamilton, because the Mercedes car I think is the best car at this track, and I think Lewis, in terms of qualifying speed at this type of track, will definitely have the edge over his teammate Valtteri Bottas. So I think Lewis Hamilton will be the man on pole. Lewis, by the way, is going for his second pole position today in Monaco. Interesting to note, he doesn't actually have that great of a record at Monaco. He has always been very quick here, but hasn't always connected the whole weekend together. But I think this weekend he absolutely will. I think he will get pole. He will get his second pole position at this track. And also Mercedes are going for their fifth pole in Monaco. By the way, I am counting Michael Schumacher's pole in 2012 as a pole position. I know people will say, oh, well, he didn't start on pole. I don't care. He got pole. He qualified on pole. So I'm counting that as a pole position. In second place will be Valtteri Bottas. Really, because no disrespect to Valtteri, he has been very good this year and this weekend also. But I think he will qualify in second because of the car. I think he will qualify there because the car is the best at this track. So I think he will qualify in P2. But if he does take pole, then it will be his first ever pole position around the streets of Monte Carlo. And also, Mercedes are looking to get their first 1-2 in qualifying at Monaco since 2015. That day it was Hamilton from Rosberg. And of course, in 2016, it was Daniel Ricciardo got pole. Then 2017, it was a Ferrari front row. And then 2018, it was Daniel Ricciardo. So also, Mercedes are looking to get their first ever pole position, or not first ever, their first pole position at Monaco since 2015. So it would be a great day for them if they did break that mini duck that they do have around Monaco. And then in third place, I'm going for Max Verstappen, because I think this year he will not crack under pressure and make a silly mistake like he did in practice 3 last year at Monaco. But also, I think the Red Bull car is definitely good enough to get into the top 3. I don't think the Ferrari car is good enough. I just don't think the Ferrari has the grip the Red Bull does to get into the top 3. So I think Max Verstappen will finish up in P3. He won't be that far off pole position. Definitely not as far off pole as he was in Spain, which I think was like 0.8 of a second. But he will be, I think, still comfortably behind Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas. But if he does get in the top 3, it will be his first ever top 3 finish in Monaco in either qualifying or a Grand Prix. And Red Bull, if they do get pole, it will be their third pole in Monaco since 2016. As I said a minute ago, they had pole with Ricciardo in 2016 and 2018. So good record for Red Bull at this track, but I don't think they will be getting pole position today in Monaco. But now I am going to bring in Nib for his predictions and see what he thinks is going to happen in qualifying today. Nib, hello to you, and are you looking forward to qualifying today?
I sure am looking forward to qualifying today. Of course, the most important qualifying of the year. And just before we get into predictions, into my predictions for the qualifying, of course, on Monday evening or Tuesday for me in Australia, the news broke that Niki Lauda had sadly passed away, and of course, he is all very much within our thoughts this weekend. Of course, the 3 times world champion, a legend of the sport, and a legend human being, most importantly. So, just all of our thoughts will be with Niki Lauda this weekend and forever, as he is absolutely a giant and a great of this sport. But now, moving on to my predictions for qualifying, I believe that it will be Lewis Hamilton who takes pole position. I just think he has the edge on Valtteri Bottas around this circuit, although so far this weekend it has been pretty close between the two Mercedes boys. But I think in qualifying, when it matters, Lewis will get the lap in and he will get the job done. And then in second place, I'm going to go for Valtteri Bottas. I think he will be ahead of, say, Leclerc or Verstappen. I'm still not completely sure who will finish third, but I think it will be Valtteri Bottas in second. Not too far off Hamilton, even though this isn't exactly his greatest circuit. He's never been super fantastic around here. But I think it'll be Bottas in second place. And then in third place, I'm going to go for Max Verstappen. Even though Leclerc, of course, topped FP3, I still think the Red Bull is going to be better around this track when it matters in qualifying than the Ferrari, even though, of course, Red Bull are missing out on quite a lot of power compared to that Ferrari. I still, however, think that the Red Bull is a better car and is better suited to this circuit, and that's why I think Max Verstappen will get P3. So those are my predictions for qualifying, and I am certainly very much looking forward to this session.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think Red Bull will get third. It will be close-ish, I think, for third, but I think, yeah, Max Verstappen will get that P3. But as you can see, guys, in the top left, with 13 and a half minutes to go until qualifying, let us know right now in the live chat, who do you think will get pole position? Who will finish in second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth, and the rest of the field? Let us know in the chat. And for the next, again, 13 minutes or so, I will read out as many comments in regards to what you think will happen in qualifying today before qualifying starts. And don't worry, by the way, I will, of course, change the timer and stuff like that once qualifying is about to get underway. But I just want to say two things. Again, don't forget to subscribe for more content like this, as we will be live tomorrow afternoon around the same time we went live today for the race watch along for the 2019 Monaco Grand Prix. So don't forget to subscribe for that. You can either do it on the bottom right of the screen, or you can just go to my homepage, subscribe, and hit the notifications bell. As well, don't forget to hit the like button. But I just want to say thank you to everyone or anyone who is watching right now who checked out mine and Nib's tech analysis video from yesterday. We've had a good reaction to it, and I'm pleased to announce that we will be doing it again, most likely between the British and German Grand Prix at Hockenheim. So basically this time in 2 months, we will be doing that again because you guys, liked it a lot. And then we'll probably do a final one after that, probably after Singapore. And then that'll probably be the last one we'll do for the year, because I think after that teams will start to concentrate on 2020. But I just want to say thank you to everyone for the positive reaction to it. We definitely enjoyed doing it, and it's great to see that you guys did as well. But let me now read out some predictions. Let me go to the start. Right, let me find the start here. So Ergen says Bottas on pole from Lewis Hamilton in second. Annette says Hamilton on pole. Pedro Goldfinger says Bottas on pole from Hamilton second, Max third, and Sebastian Vettel in P4. Prussia says Bottas on pole from Hamilton second, Vettel P3. And then Dexter Hall says Hamilton to get pole from Bottas second, Leclerc third. Annette says Hamilton on pole from Verstappen second, Bottas third. So Annette going for a Red Bull on the front row. That definitely would be exciting. Right, let me find a few more. Friction says Hamilton on pole, Verstappen second, Bottas third, Leclerc fourth, and Gasly fifth. Peter King says Lewis on pole from Mad Max second, Wingman third, and then Gasly fourth. Let me find some more. Cyber Trader says Leclerc will beat Vettel. James Chiverton says Lewis on pole from Leclerc second, Bottas third, Verstappen fourth, and Vettel fifth. Let me find any more. No problem, Michael Arvin, who says thank you, Chazza. Jim plus X99 says Lewis on pole from Bottas second, Max third with like a 0.010 plus of a gap for second, so he thinks the Red Bull will be very close. And then Charles Leclerc fourth, fifth, Pierre Gasly, and then he says sixth will either be Danny Kvyat or Sebastian Vettel. That is interesting. Erodi says Hamilton on pole from Bottas second, Verstappen third. James Evans says Lewis on pole from Bottas second, Verstappen third, Leclerc fourth, and Sebastian Vettel in fifth. Let me cut to that picture. By the way, that helmet Sebastian Vettel has, that is such a nice looking helmet. Of course, the Niki Lauda tribute helmet, it looks so good. So good. But before I read out some more predictions, Nib, for the midfield, more importantly, we'll go on to Renault first, because of course that's where your interest is going to be because of Daniel Ricciardo. But yeah, for Renault, and with mainly Ricciardo, what do you see happening for them? I don't think they're going to be that great in qualifying. Do you think they'll be better than what I think, or do you think they're going to disappoint again?
Well, certainly from FP3 it looked promising, but I don't think we can really use FP3 as a good barometer to where the teams will be in this qualifying session. You know, FP2 on a Thursday was really not good whatsoever, but I think Renault will be certainly at least getting both of their cars in the top 10. I just think that their car is actually too good. And now that they've sorted out their little issue, well, not little, big engine issues that they've had, I think that they will get both Hulkenberg and Ricciardo into Q3. And as we've seen all weekend, it will be relatively close between them.
Wow, both cars into Q3. That's definitely I wouldn't say a crazy prediction, but definitely putting your balls to the wall there. But again, I think Renault can get a car into the top 10, but I've been saying that for so long, and I just get a feeling that they're going to disappoint. I think for them, I think they're likely to be around 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. I think that's the area they're likely to be around at the absolute best. I don't think they'll get near P7 or P8. It'll be close in terms of lap time, and that's the great thing about the midfield at Monaco, is that the lap times are so close. And it really is coming down to the drivers, I think, in the midfield. But yeah, for Renault, again, I think they'll be, at best, getting a car into the top 10. I don't think they'll get both cars in, but there you go. Stella says, let's get back to the predictions. So Stella says, Hamilton on pole, Verstappen second, Bottas third, Leclerc, or says Eclair, but Leclerc fourth, Vettel fifth, Gasly sixth, and Albon or Kimi wins Formula 1.5. Hold on a minute, just lost one. Let me go back. It was JB. Where is he? There he is. JB says Hamilton from Bottas, Verstappen third, Leclerc fourth, Vettel fifth, and Gasly sixth, and Kvyat, Albon, Magnussen, Raikkonen. Davi Oliveira says Lewis on pole from Bottas second, Leclerc third, Verstappen fourth. Erudite says the rest after his prediction will be Leclerc, Vettel, Gasly, Kvyat, Raikkonen, Albon, and Magnussen. Right, let me find a couple more, and I'll quickly as well move on to this nice looking picture of the Red Bull. Let me find, see if there's any more. F Force Boss being bold by saying Daniel Ricciardo on pole. Let me find, I'm just trying to see if there's any more. Annette says that Nico will get knocked out in Q2 and Danny Ricciardo will get through to Q3. Let me see if there's any more. Jungle Brother says Lewis on pole, Bottas second, Verstappen third. James Donovan makes a good point. Says yellow flags will inhibit quality. That's one thing that is very important at this track, is when another driver makes an error, you've got to make sure you get your laps in early, because if you don't get it hooked up early on and you leave it to the end of the session, you're really risking getting knocked out, or ending up in a position a lot lower than you normally would because of a yellow flag. For example, Lewis Hamilton in 2017, if you remember, he should have really qualified in the top 5 or 6, but ended up 14th because there was a yellow flag for, I think, Stoffel Van Dorn, who crashed at the exit of the swimming pool. So getting it hooked up early on is very important here, and I think when qualifying starts in about 4 minutes' time, you are definitely going to see drivers, plenty of them on track, and you're going to see them pushing very hard from the outset, because they do not want to get unlucky with a yellow flag or even a red flag. They don't want to have that misfortune happen to them. But let me see if there's any more predictions I need to read out. Jungle Brothers says, and then the rest of the field after that: Gasly, Leclerc, Vettel, Perez in 7th. That's a massive gamble there. K-Mag 8th, and then Kvyat 9th, and Albon in P10. And Tonka Toy Truck says drivers to watch are the 2 Toro Rossos and Pierre Gasly. Thomas Hill says Bottas to get pole. Let me see if there's one more. Well, I think how long are we away? 3 minutes. I will, by the way, replace the timer in a moment to get the other timer ready for the start of Q1, which will be getting underway in just a moment. But I just want to say as well, if you're new to the channel and what we do with watch-alongs, of course, we cannot show live video of what is going on at Monaco. That's obvious because of copyright issues. So what we do is show as many pictures as we can from the track, and also we have a running order and a timer of, you know, how long there's left in the session and stuff like that. That's what we do. And also me and Nib are going to provide basically a radio commentary of what is going on at Monaco. So don't worry, you won't miss a beat. We'll cover absolutely everything that goes on at Monaco, as we are about, what, a minute and a half away, I think, as there was Alan Prost there, just chatting to Christian Horner and Helmut Marko. But let me just get the first picture up of Valtteri Bottas in his Mercedes. And by the way, it is nice to see Mercedes have painted their halo red for Niki Lauda. That's good to see. That really is. I want to ask, though, I said it earlier, but Nib, what did you think of Vettel's helmet? I think that helmet is so good looking. What do you think about it?
Yes, indeed. The helmet is incredible by Sebastian Vettel. It looks fantastic, and it is a great tribute to Niki Lauda. And of course, every single tribute that the teams are running is obviously a great touch. And of course, Mercedes, of which of course Niki Lauda was an integral part of that team. Fantastic that they have decided to paint the halo red for Niki.
Yeah, it's great to see everyone, you know, paying tribute like they should be. But let me get the first picture here. So there you go. That's let me just adjust it quickly. But that is Valtteri Bottas. And now I'll quickly get rid of the timer, replace the text, as now qualifying has started. I'll get the timer up in just a moment. Let me just do the text and all. So qualifying has got underway, and we have plenty of cars already on track. We've got what? Giovinazzi, Kvyat, Grosjean, Sainz, Norris, Russell, Magnussen, drivers like that. So I'll wait until we get to the 17 minute mark, and then I'll bring the timer back up. And now we have, plenty of cars on track here. And also, let me get this going. By the way, this running order is not the live running order. That is from yesterday's practice session. But I will update it, of course, when I need to. So now the timer should work. Yep, there you go. 17 minutes now left in Q1. So qualifying is underway at the streets of Monte Carlo. And I believe the first car to do a lap is going to be, I think, one of the Williamses. We have a McLaren here of Lando Norris. That is a Toro Rosso, I believe, Alexander Albon. Maybe Danny Kvyat. And here comes Lando Norris on his first run in qualifying. And yep, George Russell starts his lap. And here comes Lando Norris down into turn one. So easy to lock up and go down the escape road, but he does not. And now comes up the run up the hill. Such a great track. Yeah, it doesn't provide the best racing, but for qualifying, this track is so good. As he now comes to the end of the first sector and runs a bit wide. Definitely wouldn't have wanted to go that wide. Goes through the Lowe's hairpin. And now comes up to the final corner before the tunnel as, who is this? Sebastian Vettel on track. So good to see Sebastian now on circuit for qualifying. And you can see here he's waiting to start his lap. One thing, Nib, here at Monaco, as Norris there comes through the swimming pool, one thing that's very important is not getting held up in traffic, and also blocking and backing people up is very... it happens a lot here, doesn't it?
Indeed, we've already seen through FP3 some drivers' laps get ruined as Norris now sets a 1:14.1, and it looks like Kvyat's going to beat that, yes, on a 1:13.5. But yes, traffic, especially in Q1, is absolutely massive. You have to get the right amount of space behind that car in front to get the right lap, as we've seen Vettel just doing that before. Now, Magnussen goes first with a 1:12.8. 6/10 clear of Kvyat. We've also got a couple of other drivers on a fast lap with Kimi Räikkönen. Of course, we've got Hülkenberg about 9 seconds off the pace there. Not sure what happened there. Hamilton with a 1:13.1, Räikkönen with 1:13.1, and the times are really now starting to fly in as we're getting heated up in Q1.
Absolutely, and here is Charles Leclerc on his first running Q1. Only about half a tenth up on Kevin Magnussen after the middle sector, and will now get slightly held up by the Racing Point there. And now comes through final corner, and Charles Leclerc does go fastest by only half a tenth of a second. So very close at the top so far, but I don't think it'll be that close at the end of qualifying. But there you go. Here's another picture of when the session started. Here comes Nico Hülkenberg. Let's see how this Renault looks. It's only a tenth off Charles Leclerc after the middle sector. And oh, that's blocking. That's going to be a penalty for sure. That is absolutely going to be a penalty.
That was Giovinazzi. That's going to be a stonewall penalty for him. Completely ruined Hülkenberg's lap there.
Absolutely. Hülkenberg now, he goes 8th, but he lost at least half a second, at the very least, with that. Here comes Daniel Ricciardo, who so far is faster than Charles Leclerc in the first and second sector. Very interesting, as he now will have, well, not too bad traffic, as he now comes into the final corner. exits the final corner, opens the DRS, and Daniel Ricciardo goes third. Max Verstappen, by the way, has just set the fastest first sector. So we'll see what he does on his lap. By the way, with the running order, I'll update it once the times settle down and we have a proper order going into the second and final running qualifier or in Q1. Max Verstappen, look at that. 7 tenths up after the first 2 sectors. Now swings it into Raskas. And now into Anthony Knows. That Red Bull car does look very good. Oh, look how close he got to the barrier. That's so good as Pierre Gasly goes fastest. But Max Verstappen goes almost a second faster on a 1:11.7. Kvyat goes second on a 12.3. But that was a great first run. And that's what I was talking about. You've got to get a good early run in. And Max Verstappen has done that to a T. As here comes Lewis Hamilton in the red haloed silver arrow Mercedes, comes to the line and goes second, about 4 tenths of a second off, or 3.5 tenths of a second off, as Valtteri Bottas has backed off. And I think we'll be starting another lap as Alexander Albon has now gone up to third. Here comes Charles Leclerc again, but that lap from Verstappen is an absolute brilliant lap to start off Q1 for him. Leclerc now opening the DRS. And where will he go? He goes up to third, about 4 tenths of a second off Max Verstappen. So, I think those are really the early runs here in Q1. Let me try and update some of the order. So you've got Verstappen P1. And then Lewis Hamilton P2, and here comes Hülkenberg. And Nib, I'll let you take the rest of this lap.
Yes, as now we've got Nico Hülkenberg now just coming through the final part of the swimming pool section. He's got McLaren up ahead as he now comes through Raskas. As you can see, traffic here, there, and everywhere. As now he comes through Anthony Nogues with a little bit affected by that Alfa Romeo up in front of him. Where is Hülkenberg going to go? He's going to go into P12 with a 1:12.9. Very close to his teammate Daniel Ricciardo, as we've now got Valtteri Bottas coming through Anthony Nogues to set his flying lap. And whereabouts is Valtteri Bottas going to go now? Getting a nice toe from that Haas. He's going to go second, 2 tenths off Max Verstappen with a 1:11.9. But now it looks like have we got some? I thought there was some debris on the track then for a second, but I just noticed we had Ricciardo moving up into P8, and now Giovinazzi is under investigation, of course, for blocking Nico Hülkenberg when Hülkenberg was on the flying lap. But now we have Gasly setting the fastest middle sector as he comes through the swimming pool section now, very close to his teammate Max Verstappen, as we now really are seeing this track ramp up and just the times come crumbling down as Verstappen's going even quicker. But now Gasly is going to go second, just a 10th off Verstappen, and Verstappen is going to better his own time with now a 1:11.5. Verstappen is flying at the moment, and currently a Red Bull 1-2, as Hamilton does very well to get out the way of Kevin Magnussen there in the swimming pool section. But it looks like Hamilton's made a mistake on that lap and backed out of it. We're just seeing it now at the Novell chicane, locking up, and he had to abort that lap, of course. Not a mistake you want to make, but he should be okay in P4. As Kevin Magnussen has just gone up into P2 on a 1:11.8, as now we've got Charles Leclerc, non-stopping action here in Monaco at the moment. Oh, as Leclerc locks up into Raskas, he's just going to be able to keep it out of the wall. I thought he was going in the wall then for a second, but he got out of the lockup. And now, what lap time is he going to set? Of course, he doesn't improve on his lap. But now Vettel, he needs to improve. Of course, he's down to P16 at the moment. But what lap time will it be for the German? He's going to go P10. That's not a good lap, of course, missing quite a lot of FP3 running after crashing at Saint-Devote, breaking his left front suspension. But he'll need to just get as many laps as he possibly can to be able to build up that confidence. He needs to get a good lap, which he quite clearly is lacking at the moment.
Absolutely. But Red Bull looking good, and I thought they would be. I always thought Red Bull would be definitely good here. compared to what they've been like in 2019. So yeah, looking good for them. I am finally able, I think, now to update the order to what it actually is. As usual in Monaco, the order swapping around very quickly. I think Sebastian Vettel, problem with Vettel at the moment is he's not getting into the groove and also is having slight traffic at times on his laps. So yeah. Ricardo, by the way, is P11. They got Raikkonen P12. So these are the drivers, I think, that are in danger of getting knocked out. You've got Grosjean 13th, Giovinazzi 14th. I think Giovinazzi is going to get a penalty because what he did was criminal. Norris P15, Hulkenberg 16th. Not good at all. Perez is 17th, Stroll 18th. That's basically expected for them because the Racing Point has been quite horrible this weekend. As Williams, I think, on a lap, but we're not seeing any sector times. But there you go, the live order right now for Q1 with 6:45 left is running along the bottom of your screen. And Russell does go up to 19th. So let me quickly update that.
And Gasly's also moved up into second.
Okay, right, let me just quickly do that. That's a replay of Leclerc's lockup. Very lucky not to go straight on like a famous ex-Ferrari driver about 13 years ago. Very loose rear end. Yeah, very loose rear end. I've not seen that too many times. But now that is the live order. Let me put up another picture for you guys quickly.
As Hamilton goes second.
And now Lewis Hamilton goes into second. I'll update that in a moment. I just want to...
And Bottas goes fastest.
And now Valtteri Bottas goes fastest. I just want to put a picture of a Red Bull on the screen for everyone. As Kubica coming to the line. And he goes... Oh, he stays 20th. So he'll probably stay there until the end of qualifying. There are the Red Bulls looking very quick indeed. And what's this? Charles Leclerc being pushed back to the weighbridge, I believe. Yes. So Charles Leclerc, he should be okay with that time. He's about a second clear of the drop zone. He should be okay. But you never know. We have seen stranger things. So yeah, Valtteri Bottas is now fastest from from Max Verstappen second, and it's Lewis Hamilton in third, and then fourth is Pierre Gasly, and then fifth is Kevin Magnussen. And then the rest of the field so far with 5 minutes left in Q1 is Leclerc, Sainz, Kvyat, Albon, Vettel, Ricciardo, Raikkonen, Grosjean, Giovinazzi, Norris, and then in the drop zone, Hulkenberg, the 2 Racing Points of Perez and Stroll, and then the 2 Williamses of Russell and Kubica. Here is Lance Stroll, who's already 2.3 seconds off in the first sector. I'm going to assume this is a warm-up lap. I don't think he's that bad. And yeah, this is probably just to warm up his tyres kind of lap for Stroll. But let me also show you guys what we were talking about with Giovinazzi and Hulkenberg, because yeah, Giovinazzi definitely held up Hulkenberg into the Rascasse. Here you go. And yeah, Giovinazzi will definitely get a penalty because he was basically just hovering on the racing line, dawdling basically, and cost Hulkenberg bags of time. As Stroll, we're on board with him right now, letting a car through. And here comes, who is this? Sebastian Vettel, a man under pressure. Yeah, definitely a man under pressure in the Ferrari. By the way, Ferrari are not that far ahead of the midfield right now, as Vettel does a slower middle sector than he did before. By the way, you have to say, if you look at the Ferrari, it doesn't look that good at all. I think Vettel might have backed off on this lap. Yes, he has. And come into the pits. Oh, that's risky if he doesn't come out again. And I don't think he will. Unless they're going to do a racing style pit stop quickly and put him back out on track. But that's a bit of a risk. Oh, he touched the outside barrier. Might have had a flat tyre. And we'll see it now. I think that's just the Ferrari car not having that great of grip. Because if you look at the steering wheel, he was actually pointing the car right. But the car wasn't far enough over. So, poor grip really there from the Ferrari. Here comes, who is this? That's Giovinazzi in the final corner. Here he comes. Oh, very close to the wall on the exit, the final corner. Here he comes. Antonio Giovinazzi goes P8. Good lap, even though he will get a penalty for sure. Kimi Raikkonen goes P9. Good for Alpha. Here comes the 2 racing points. Lance Stroll goes P16. That's not obviously going to be good enough. Here comes Lewis Hamilton, I think. Perez goes P12. That's a very good lap. Sebastian Vettel is really at risk here as Lewis Hamilton goes fastest. I tell you, look. There you go. Vettel's in the drop zone. And Vettel is out, surely. He's not on track. He won't be able to get round in time unless he comes out right now.
Leclerc and Vettel are both in the pits.
Oh,
both Ferraris
dear.
in real danger here. Well, Vettel looks out.
Yeah, he's out. He's out. He's on outlap now. He's on an outlap now. So basically, he has to do basically a proper lap and then get his lap underway. But Ferrari really cutting it close. Thank God for them they got on track.
He is still in the pit lane, and he's only in 12th, and I would expect Vettel, Hulkenberg, Norris, Albon to all improve.
Yeah, you definitely would. Monaco, the grip of Monaco, it really does ramp up. And that's why you have to also not take risks like this. I think he's at the weighbridge. I think that's why he's in the pit still. He can't get out now. He doesn't have enough time. But there you go. Leclerc at risk. And by the way, he's only, what, a tenth and a half? Maybe even less than that ahead of the drop zone. So he will be lucky to get into Q2 at this rate. Here comes Sebastian Vettel. He will be fine to start a lap, but he has to make sure he doesn't make a mistake, because if he does, then he will be starting in P17 for the Monaco Grand Prix. And here he comes on his lap now, and here is the McLaren of Lando Norris in the McLaren. Good middle sector. Only a tenth off. By the way, the lap times, look how close the field is. From P11 to P1, only half a second. Here comes Lando Norris. And coming up to the line, he will probably go very quick. P7, and this is where Charles Leclerc is going to be panicking, because now they're all going to go very, very quick. Carlos Sainz stays in P9. Sebastian Vettel does a fastest first sector. Danny Kvyat goes up to P4. Only half a tenth off the fastest time. Sebastian Vettel at the moment doing well enough, as long as he doesn't make an error, to get into Q2. Let me just get rid of that timer. So we have no time now left in Q1. And Vettel should be getting into Q. And Perez has ended up 15th. Albon 13th. Hulkenberg 14th. If Vettel goes fastest, Leclerc's out. And yes, he goes fastest. Charles Leclerc's out of qualifying. Charles Leclerc ends up P16. What a disaster. What an absolute, what a disaster. Oh my. Charles Leclerc, P16. And by the way, I mean, Vettel did go fastest, but it didn't look the greatest of laps. But Ferrari, they're lucky to get one car into Q2, because they weren't, massively fast in getting on track. But Leclerc out. Nib, what do you think of that?
I am absolutely shocked, and I think Charles Leclerc is even more shocked. I think he just walked up to Jock Clear and said, what the beep happened there? What on earth were Ferrari doing there? Ferrari leaving Leclerc in the pit lane, and this cost him chance at potentially pole position at his home Grand Prix. Oh dear, Ferrari. Oh dear.
That sums up Ferrari's season right there. But yeah, Leclerc P16, that is an absolute disaster from where he is. And is going to have one hell of a tough Grand Prix tomorrow. But I'm just going to quickly finish up the order for Q1. So Magnussen was P10. Carlos Sainz got through in P11. Giovinazzi was P12. By the way, in the chat, guys, let us know what you thought of Leclerc getting knocked out and what you think of Ferrari. I think he got called to the weighbridge, so I think he was kind of unlucky. But then again, he should have set a better first lap than he did. And you can kind of say the same for Sebastian Vettel. His early laps in Q1 were not good. So there you go. But knocked out in Q1. Charles Leclerc, Sergio Perez, Lance Stroll, George Russell, and Robert Kubica. But yeah, that is one hell of a shock. One hell of a shock.
And might I just say that he did miss the weighbridge, but he got pushed back to the weighbridge and would have been sitting in the garage. Ferrari thinking that they're going to make through to Q2. I even said it 2 minutes before that if Leclerc doesn't go out here, he's in trouble. I even picked it up. And Ferrari somehow haven't sent out Leclerc. Absolute madness. And here we go. I think we're going to see a bit of a replay here on the SkyPad with Anthony Davidson to really tell us what's happened. But, Ferrari, they have absolutely mucked that up. That is the most Ferrari thing you will ever see in this sport. And they've absolutely ruined Charles Leclerc's home Grand Prix weekend.
Absolutely. Well, I don't even know what to say. I need to kind of comprehend what's happened there. I mean, of course, it is a disaster for them, but I just want to show a picture of why Sebastian Vettel had a bit of panic at the end there. And here's a replay of here's the replay of Giovinazzi's block. And yeah, that's a clear block. That's a terrible block on the entry to Rascasse. That'll be a guaranteed penalty. If the Grosjean block in Bahrain on Norris was a penalty, that will be a slam dunk penalty for sure. But not only with Leclerc going out, but Nib, Vettel, he almost went out as well because he only just made it out on track. I mean, if they were another half a minute, it would have been 2 Ferraris out in Q1. So it just showcases what a disaster qualifying has already been for them.
Indeed, of course, if Vettel hadn't have made it through, it would have been more of more of Vettel's fault because, of course, he did hit the wall on the exit of the swimming pool chicane. So that would have certainly been more Sebastian Vettel's fault, but they were very, very close to having both drivers out in Q1. What on earth, Ferrari? What on earth? They're an absolute shambles, as I ranted and raved on about in the podcast, and this just proves it. Ferrari are an utter shambles.
Absolutely. And yeah, they are lucky to get any cars into Q2. I can't remember the last time. I think it was Kimi Raikkonen at the 2014 Hungarian Grand Prix. I think was the last time they had a Ferrari out in Q1. But it's definitely a sight you don't really ever see. It is incredible, but there you go. But Q2 should be getting underway pretty soon. By the way, thanks to everyone who is currently tuning in. We have about just under 800 people watching live. Great to see you all here. If you are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe for more content like this, as we do watch-alongs every weekend. So don't forget to subscribe for that content. And don't forget as well to hit this with a like. As Team Radio playing there for Charles Leclerc. Don't know what he was saying, but
Yeah, I'm going to listen to it.
okay. But probably telling his team, please get me back in the back out on track, as Q2 is now underway. The two Mercedes cars are the first out on track, and then you got a Toro Rosso there of Albon, I think it is, and then Norris. I'll put the timer back up once the actual timer on the FOM screen comes back up. Right, so we have 14.5 minutes left. I'll put the timer up in just a moment when I can sync it up correctly. So yeah, so we've got Hamilton on track, Bottas on track, Kvyat on track, Grosjean on track, then the two McLarens, Magnussen, Giovinazzi, Raikkonen, Hülkenberg, Gasly, Vettel, and then soon Verstappen, Albon, and Ricciardo. As we now have, hopefully this will sync up about right. We now have, there you go, 14 minutes left. I think that's exactly on as well. 14 minutes left in Q2. The current order is running along the bottom of your screen, except for the top 15 positions. The from 16th down to 20th, that is the final order for there. And yes, again, Charles Leclerc out in Q1 for Ferrari. What a disaster that is. As starting his first run in Q2 is Lewis Hamilton, comes down to turn 1. Car looking pretty good. Now comes the run of the hill. And turns it in, car looking good, and does I think 18.9, I think, or a 19.0 for the first sector.
18.7.
Or an 18.7. Bottas goes even faster than Lewis Hamilton.
An 18.5.
Very, very good first sector, considering it's only 18.5 seconds long. Here comes Lewis Hamilton through the tunnel, down into the Nouvelle chicane, braking very important there. And looking very good. All bit skittish on exit. Swings it in. And does a 52.2 for the middle sector. Valtteri Bottas will do a 51.8 for the middle sector. Very quick lap for Valtteri Bottas. Here comes Lewis Hamilton, though, on his first, he slid the rear there on the final corner. Comes to the line on his first run in Q2 and does a 1.11.1. That's very quick. Valtteri Bottas, though, a 1.10.7 for Valtteri Bottas, an absolute stunner. What was pole position last year? Was it a 10? I can't remember what it was exactly. A new track record. There you go. Valtteri Bottas, new track record of 1 minute 10.701. And that will be broken, of course, in Q3. As Kvyat is now P3, got Norris P4, Magnussen P5, Hülkenberg P6, Carlos Sainz P7, Giovinazzi P8, Grosjean P9 as Kimi Raikkonen goes P7 in the Alpha. That's a pretty good lap. Gasly goes up to P3. I think Mercedes have gone to party mode. As Vettel goes P4. Here comes Daniel Ricciardo. As Verstappen goes second on an 11 flat. That's a very good time from Verstappen. Here comes Daniel Ricciardo and goes P4, 11.6. That's a great time. 9/10 off the fastest time. That's very good from Daniel Ricciardo. So, in the drop zone at the moment is Kimi Raikkonen, Carlos Sainz, Giovinazzi, Albon, and Grosjean. So let me quickly do some of the order before it probably changes again. I think the Mercedes drivers will probably not do another lap because I think they have definitely enough of a gap. And also I think Verstappen will come back in and not go out again. Here comes a McLaren into turn 1. Yeah, currently Bottas from Verstappen, Hamilton, then Ricciardo. P4 ahead of Pierre Gasly. I think that basically shows that Red Bull, of course, with Pierre Gasly had a downgrade on Daniel Ricciardo. And then you got Sebastian Vettel in P6, Danny Kvyat P7, and then P8, Lando Norris. There's what, 10 minutes to go in Q2. P9, Kevin Magnussen, and then P10, Nico Hulkenberg. So at the moment, Nib is right. The two Renaults will be getting through to Q3, but that is only for the moment. And then you got Raikkonen in P11, and then
Hamilton's just improved to a 10.8, and Valtteri Bottas has also just gone faster in the middle sector.
yes, he has as all. That's Lando Norris locking up into Raskas. That's not going to be good for him. As Danny Kvyat goes P4 and a 1:11.4. That's a great lap. Norris goes P8. Or stays P8. Carlos Sainz goes P5. The track is really, really ramping up very quickly. And you can see there, look at Sebastian Vettel. Again, he's at risk of being knocked out. As so Hamilton's now second. Then you've got Verstappen in third. As Giovinazzi goes 12th. Kimi Räikkönen comes up to line and replaces him in P12. Alpha are disappointing us at the moment. Here comes Alexander Albon. P10. Good enough for now. Carlos Sainz is currently P5. And then you've got Daniel Ricciardo goes P5. Ahead of Carlos Sainz. So good there for Ricciardo. So Sainz is P6. And then you got Pierre Gasly down in, here's Lewis Hamilton at the weighbridge, but he'll be fine. He won't have what happened to Charles Leclerc. And they got Hulkenberg in 8th, and then I think it's what was that? It's a Haas.
Did Magnussen hit the inside wall here?
Yeah,
he did.
That's obviously not good at all. Bit weird because he locked up, but he turned in very, very early. I think maybe didn't expect what happened going into the corner in terms of the amount of grip he had. Vettel is 9th. Albon is P10, and then you got Norris in the drop zone at the moment in P11 with Magnussen P12. Haas are not looking good. Another Alfa Romeo, which is a bit of a surprise considering what the pace has been like this weekend. And then Giovinazzi is 14th, and then in 15th is Romain Grosjean. So the current order running along the bottom of your screen is the current order with 7 minutes to go in qualifying 2. But with the top 10, again, Nib, Ferrari, they're at risk again of being knocked out. Do you think there's an actual chance of Sebastian Vettel getting knocked out in Q2 here?
No, I don't think so. I think Ferrari will get it together, although having just seen what they did at the end of Q1 there, I'm still sat here in shock of what has happened to Charles Leclerc, as we're just seeing replays of him in absolute disbelief, as am I, how he is out of this session, how Ferrari have buggered that up. But I think ultimately Vettel will get through into Q3. He didn't just quite get the lap together on his first run, and of course on his second run he should be able to get it together. Of course, there could be a crash, there could be some yellow flags, so you can't just rely on your first lap here at Monaco. That is for sure. You need to make sure you get a good first lap and a good second lap. But at the moment, Mercedes looking quite comfortable at the front. And then, of course, Verstappen in third, and Danny Kvyat doing very well in the Toro Rosso at the moment.
And also, Ricciardo, very good. Carlos Sainz, very good, considering the McLaren hasn't been that great this weekend. Hulkenberg, quite good. Albon, could do better. And then, of course, definitely could do better. Norris, Magnussen, Raikkonen, Giovinazzi, and Romain Grosjean, who are in the drop zone with 5.5 minutes to go in qualifying 2. Lewis Hamilton is coming out again on track. Maybe he just wants to make sure, you know, wants to be on a better set of tyres. I don't know. But yeah, that is the current drop zone. Norris, Magnussen, Raikkonen, Giovinazzi, Grosjean. I think a couple people out of that drop zone will probably get through to Q3. It'd be very interesting to see who gets dropped out. But here comes Romain Grosjean, I believe. Yes, it is. Down into turn 1. And let's see what Romain can do. Not a good first run in Q2. He whips it into Casino. There's slight traffic, but shook it out the way. Yep. And good first sector. Well, not good enough, but not bad start to the lap for Romain Grosjean.
And might I just say, the Mercedes will, of course, set new laps because they did 2 runs on that previous tyre. So they will want to do a fastest lap on these set of tyres.
Yeah, absolutely. Here comes Grosjean down to the Nouvelle chicane. Good lap so far, but I'm not sure if it is quite fast enough. We'll have to see. Here comes the swimming pool. He's a 10th up on Albon. I love the swimming pool at Monaco. It's some of the best corners in Formula 1, without a doubt. Oh, no, that's just about all right. There was traffic on the inside going into the final corner, but that's all okay. Here he comes, so up to the line. No, he misses out, but will have the ability to have another run with 3.5 minutes to go. So he goes up to P12. Here comes, I believe, Alexander Albon. Is that? I don't know if that's Albon or not. But it's a Toro Rosso.
I've forgotten myself.
Yeah, the driver numbers kind of look the same from a distance, but oh no, it's Kvyat. So here comes Danny Kvyat. He's on a slower lap so far, so he probably should do a cool down lap, and yeah, goes slower by about 0.4 of a second compared to his personal best. Alexander Albon goes P8. So the driver at risk now, Sebastian Vettel. And Vettel, by the way, goes P4. As soon as I say that, on a 1:11.2, that's more like it. Now Nico Hülkenberg is at risk as Lando Norris gets into P10. That's good enough.
Fastest first sector for Max Verstappen.
Very, very quick in the first sector, Max Verstappen. Here comes Kevin Magnussen to the line. And Magnussen goes P8. So Norris is dropped back out of the top 10. Here comes Kimi Raikkonen. Can he do enough to get into Q3 at his 300th Grand Prix? Here he comes. No, he doesn't improve on his lap, but will have the chance to go again. Here comes Pierre Gasly, who is currently, he's gone P6 now, but here comes Max Verstappen on his probably final run in Q2. Here he comes now. And fastest by 0.08 of a second. Game on at the top. As Nico Hülkenberg is currently doing enough to get into the top 10 by about 0.1 as he now comes to the final corner. Renault definitely looking better in qualifying than it did on Thursday. And here he comes, P9. I'm not sure if that'll be good enough or not. We'll have to see. But Max Verstappen goes fastest. Very interesting indeed. As, who's this? Lewis Hamilton, I believe? Yep, Lewis Hamilton, I think. Oh, get very close to the wall there on the exit of that final corner as he starts the lap, I believe. But let me quickly...
Bottas.
Oh, it's Bottas. Let me quickly do some of the order. So Bottas is second. Then it's Hamilton in third. Vettel fourth. By the way, I think as we kind of predicted, Ferrari are not that far ahead of the midfield. As Kvyat's only about 0.1 behind, or just over 0.1 behind. Gasly as well, not looking that great. He's in P6. P7 is at the moment Daniel Ricciardo. Kvyat does another slower lap. Here comes Alexander Albon. Will he get into the top 10? P6, great end to the lap by Albon. I might as well leave the order now because it's going to get very harem-scarum now. Here comes Carlos Sainz. P9 does improve his time, but will that be enough? We'll have to see. Lando Norris comes to the line. P11, he has been knocked out. So Lando Norris is out of Q2. Kevin Magnussen, look how far up he is on Hulkenberg's time. This is a mega lap from the Dane. And comes into the final corner. Opens the DRS, and he should get into the top 10 very comfortably. He does. P5, 1:11.3. Here comes Giovinazzi. I think Antonio will miss out. He's not improving on this lap. And yeah, ends up in 15th place. So poor for Alpha at 14th and 15th. Romain Grosjean, I believe, has just pitted. Yes, he has.
Made a mistake in the sector.
Yeah, he's pitted.
He was very good in the first sector, on pace with Kevin Magnussen. But it looks like a mistake has cost him a potential Q3 appearance there, the Frenchman.
And I don't believe we've got Hulkenberg on a lap, do we? Or Grosjean's, of course,
No,
not on
he's
the lap.
in the pits.
Right, so that is then the final order of Q2. So let me quickly finalise it. So Verstappen was fastest from Bottas, Hamilton, Vettel, then Magnussen. Danny Kvyat, then Albon. So both Toro Rossos making it through, and that's very important for them in the Constructors fight because they are at the back of that midfield Constructors fight, and they do need to start consistently getting into the top 10 more. Gasly got through in P8. And then you got Ricciardo P9. So great again for Ricciardo, as he has been doing for quite a few races. I think since his home race, he's been getting the best out of the Renault car. Carlos Sainz just about made it through, but getting knocked out. Hulkenberg in P11, who again has a disappointing qualifying compared to his teammate. Then Norris P12. And then it is Grosjean P13. P14. What's wrong?
On the replay, Romain Grosjean nearly went careening into the back of Pierre Gasly. That was so close. Hopefully there's a replay of that so you can see that. That was mega close. Grosjean had to do a double lockup there to avoid Gasly. I'm not sure whether or not he was on a lap or not, but
oh, I've just seen it. That's gonna be a penalty, I think. That's gonna be a penalty, surely. But that is it for Q2. Let me just quickly change the text. Q2 is over. Q3 will be getting underway pretty soon. So the current order running along the bottom of your screen from P11 down is the finishing order for those drivers. Knocked out in Q2, Hulkenberg, Norris, Grosjean, Raikkonen, and Giovinazzi. But now, Q3 is about to get underway, and I think we have a proper fight for pole position, possibly, between Verstappen, Bottas, Hamilton. It's going to be quite an interesting end to the session here, I think. Let me just get a... And there is Charles Leclerc, very disappointed. By the way, thank you to everyone who's watching right now. We have about 880 people watching live, I believe. So thanks to everyone who's watching. Great to have you along. And again, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, as we do watch-alongs every weekend, or every F1 weekend. Here's a man on the screen who could get pole. Valtteri Bottas. Been very good in qualifying in 2019, and he could get pole for the 4th consecutive Grand Prix. He is looking good. He is looking very good. And Charles Leclerc there being interviewed. Nib, for Q3, is your opinion any different, or do you think it will be Hamilton, Bottas, Verstappen still?
I honestly have no idea what this top 3 now is going to be. Of course, I've predicted those 3 drivers to be in the top 3. But Lewis Hamilton, for me, been a tiny little bit disappointing. Very good by Valtteri Bottas so far to be ahead of him. pretty much in every single session so far this weekend. But of course, we've seen Verstappen improve on his final run. The Mercedes were going faster, but then they didn't quite improve on their final runs. So I still think there's a little bit more to come from Mercedes, but we will find out, of course, in Q3. But must say, Max Verstappen and that Red Bull is certainly right in the fight there. And look at Charles Leclerc, just got knocked out of Q1 and has time to take some selfies with the fans. What a proper nice guy. But back onto the real stuff now that really matters. Red Bull are in the fight with Mercedes.
Yes, well, with one driver they are. With Pierre Gasly, I think it's more so in the fight with the midfield. But yeah, looking competitive. I'll put that text there ready for Q3 to start in just a moment. But yeah, it's looking good at the top. I'm very interested to see the first runs in Q3. I think that'll determine whether Max Verstappen can go for pole. If he goes first or second, or is second and only just off pole after the first run, then he can absolutely get pole. But again, we'll have to see. We'll have to see. Again, if he does, and
replay Grosjean here.
Yeah, that's worse than the Giovinazzi one because that was at speed. So yeah, Gasly will get a penalty for that, no doubt. So Gasly and Giovinazzi surely going to get penalties for that. I think Gasly, he tried to move out the way, but he didn't do it well enough. What he should have done is speed up a bit, pull to the inside, and let Grosjean take the left-hand side of the track. But he didn't. He didn't quite clock on to what he needed to do at that moment quick enough. He didn't clock on quick enough to where he needed to be on track. So yeah, I think Gasly will get a penalty there. I'd be shocked if he didn't, because he could have caused a massive crash. And to be honest, it was more dangerous than Giovinazzi's. At least with the Giovinazzi one, Hülkenberg saw the Alfa Romeo parked on the racing line. Grosjean turned around the corner and suddenly there's a Red Bull there going very, very slow. So, yeah, that's going to be a penalty, probably. But now, we are moments away from the start of Q3, and Q3 at Monaco is a very, very exciting thing indeed. To see the best drivers in Formula 1 give it everything for the most important pole position of the season, without a doubt. As here comes a Mercedes, I think it was Lewis Hamilton. That's Max Verstappen, who is ready to come out in just a moment. I'll get the timer ready. So there you go. Green light for Q3. As Hamilton comes out, Vettel comes out. It comes the two Toro Rossos as well. So, and now, yeah, so we've got now about 11 minutes and 40 seconds left. I'll make sure to sync up once we get down to the 11-minute mark. It was Valtteri Bottas who came out on track first. Lewis Hamilton still in the pits. So that's interesting. But yeah, Bottas, Vettel, Magnussen, Kvyat, Albon, Gasly, Sainz on track right now, as they now get ready for the first run in Q3. Traffic shouldn't be an issue like it was in the first two sessions. It normally tends to be an issue in the first two sessions, but in Q3 it doesn't tend to, be an issue. But here we go, and there you go, synced up absolutely on the dot. So there you go, that's the amount of time left in Q3. Who will get pole? Let's see. Here is Danny Kvyat, who was 5th in Q2. And here comes Valtteri Bottas then on his first flying lap. He did a mega first run in Q2. Let's see what he can do as Lewis Hamilton lets him through there. Let's see what he can do on his first run in Q3 when it all matters. He comes through Casino and does a 18.3 for the first sector. That's very, very quick. Valtteri lately has honestly been very similar to his compatriot of the day, Mika Hakkinen, when it comes to qualifying. Very, very quick. As here comes Bottas now through the tunnel. Here's a picture for you guys, a nice rear end shot of the Red Bull. And goes through the Nouvelle chicane. Car looking very good, but is it good enough for pole? We will have to see. 51.3 for the middle sector.
Bottas is flying.
Yeah, that's a very quick middle sector time. Very, very quick. And here he comes, Valtteri Bottas. Oh, that was wide. That cost him time, I think. But here he comes to the line. And a 1:10.2. A 1 minute 10.2. And I think he can go even faster than that. Sebastian Vettel goes second. A 1 minute 10.9. But a 1:10.2. And I think, Nib, we could have a 1 minute 9. Because I think Valtteri lost a bit of time in the final corner. So we could see a 1 minute 9 as Kvyat goes up to P3. And then you got Sainz P4, Albon P5. Gasly goes up to P3 on a 1:11.1. Here comes Max Verstappen. What can Mad Max do? Oh, so close to the barrier. He's 4/10 off. Lewis Hamilton has backed off or made a mistake on his first run. And here comes Verstappen through Raskas and the final corner. This will put him into second place most likely. Oh, I think he kissed the barrier. That's how close he got. And second, about 4/10 off, and he does the fastest final sector. And as I said, Nib, I think Bottas did mess up the final. Oh, and
Hamilton.
Hamilton.
This is an Nouvelle chicane there.
He does. I think he made a mistake on his first sector.
In the first sector he did.
Yeah, because he was 2.5 seconds down. But that is a stunning first run by Valtteri Bottas. A 1:10.2.
I think Max setting the fastest final sector there is more proof that Bottas can go even faster on that lap. But I think Hamilton's going to go for it again here. So we'll see what Lewis Hamilton can do. Oh, as he was a bit squirmish there coming out of Saint-Devote. But now up going through Beau Rivage. Let's see if he can get anywhere near that 1:18.3 of Valtteri Bottas. About 10.5 better than anyone so far this weekend. And he's a 10.5 off. Is Lewis Hamilton in the first sector. Now coming through the hairpin. And now a very important part of the track. Of course, this exit out of this corner here is so crucial. Got to make sure you keep that rear end in check as we now come through the tunnel, barreling down towards the Nouvelle chicane. Is Hamilton very difficult braking zone? Of course, we just seen him make a mistake there, but everything looks nice and tidy there for the 5-time world champion through that corner. Now through to back, he chucks the car through. He's 4/10 off Valtteri Bottas. Now through the other swimming pool chicane, and now coming up towards Raskas. Of course, got to get it nice and tidy. And we've seen many people get very close to this outside wall at Anthony Noakes. Hamilton not as close to the wall, but where will this lap time put Lewis Hamilton? It will put him in second place, 2/10 off Valtteri Bottas. He goes fastest in the final sector. An 18.6. And I think that is further proof that Bottas can go faster in that final sector.
Absolutely. And again, when we say 18, we're talking about sector times. Just want to make that clear. But yeah, Lewis Hamilton, 10.4 in terms of lap time. Pierre Gasly improves his best lap to an 11.0, but stays in P5. Not that far off Sebastian Vettel. Only a 10th off. But yeah, Ferrari definitely out of the fight for pole position. But we now have 6 minutes to go in Q3. And I think teams are now going to cool down and wait to go again for that final run. But if Valtteri Bottas goes out there on the final run and puts in a stonking lap, I'm going to be honest, I don't think anyone else has a chance of beating him. I don't see how they do, because as Nib said, and as I pointed out at the time, that final sector was definitely not the best it could have been. He could have gone probably at least a 10th quicker. So, yeah, I think definitely Valtteri is the favourite for pole at the moment, but we'll see if Lewis Hamilton has some kind of spectacular, and also Max Verstappen. We'll see if they have some kind of spectacular final effort in the bag ready, as Lewis Hamilton now getting pushed back into the pits. By the way, we are very close to 1,000 people watching live. Be great if we did get that, and I think we probably will slightly tick over to that. Thank you guys very, very much for watching. And again, if you are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe for more content like this, and as well, hit the like on this video as well. As the top 5 are in the pits, whilst Kevin Magnussen, Danny Kvyat, Carlos Sainz, Alexander Albon and Daniel Ricciardo are on outlaps. And this is a smart thing to do, to get your laps in before the top runners, not ruin the top runners' final laps. And there you go, 1,000 people watching. Great to have that. Thank you very much, guys. I really do appreciate it, having that many people watch this stream live. It's a good thing for the Haas of Magnussen, the 2 Toro Rossos, and Sainz and Ricciardo to get out on track now, so they don't ruin the top runners' final lap, and also so they can take advantage of a free track, as Daniel Ricciardo, Carlos Sainz, Kevin Magnussen and Alexander Albon, I think right now are on a lap. We're not seeing it.
We're not seeing them.
Yeah, we're not seeing them, which is really annoying, because we're just staring at Hamilton and Vettel for some reason. I think FOM are clearly showing their marketing here about just showing the top runners, not the actual people on track. But there you go. As Sebastian Vettel has now come out of the... He's now coming onto the track on a fresh, new, gleaming set of soft compound tyres. I do love that they've done that with the tyres to make it look like that. I really do like that. It really does look nice. They now comes onto the track. Here comes Valtteri Bottas as Daniel Ricciardo goes P6. P6 for Ricciardo. That's a very good lap. Magnussen improves but goes stays P7. Let me quickly update that. That's a great lap by Ricciardo. Again, getting the best out of his Red Bull car. Magnussen.
Renault.
Yeah, Renault. Magnussen P7, and then you got Kvyat, who just got put down to P9 by Albon, but Kvyat got him back, and then you've got Carlos Sainz in P10. Right, so 2 minutes to go. Let's see what the top drivers have. They're all on an out lap. Sebastian Vettel will be the first one out of the top 5 to do his final run in qualifying, and here he comes, opens the DRS. What does Sebastian Vettel have for us? Be interesting to see the kind of track evolution at this point with the top cars. And here he comes up the run up the hill into Casino, and this is probably the only sector of the track where the Ferrari is good, because it's very fast, but after this it gets worse for them. Saying that, they're already a 10th off. As he comes now down into the Lowe's hairpin, where you have to go literally full lock. The teams have to bring a special steering wheel just for Monaco to get round the Lowe's hairpin. As he now comes into the tunnel in his Ferrari SF90. Lewis Hamilton, fastest first sector by 0.07 of a second. Here we go. We're going to have an epic end to qualifying, as here comes Vettel. Verstappen. Oh, it's hit the wall. Oh. Sebastian Vettel hits the wall, and if I was him, I'd pit, because I don't think he'll improve his time, and he might do more damage to his car if he continues. But he hit the wall on the entry to the swimming pool.
Still going?
I think his car is progressively braking. I think you can see it. He's struggling to turn it. So Lewis Hamilton, 0.04 of a second up. So close. So here he comes into Raskas. No, oh, he lost the rear end. That's going to cost him, as Max Verstappen is way off and he will be P3 surely. Here comes Lewis Hamilton, fastest by 800ths of a second. Lewis Hamilton, and Bottas has backed
made a
off.
mistake.
So Lewis Hamilton is surely on pole with a 1 minute 10.1. And Hamilton has produced the lap right at the end. And there you go. Let me just get rid of that timer. But there you go. As Carlos Sainz quickly jumps up to P8. But Hamilton gets his second pole position in Monaco. Magnussen goes up to P6. Albon P10. And Kvyat now goes up to P8. So still moving around, but Hamilton. And you're right, Nib. How is Sebastian Vettel still driving around? It's incredible.
I don't know. He absolutely hammered that wall.
He's lucky he didn't take the wheel off that. He made more contact with the turn 1 barrier this morning than he... made more contact in that hitting of the wall on the entry to the swimming pool, or coming up to the swimming pool, than he did this morning. Magnussen P6, Ricciardo P7, and then it's Kvyat, Sainz, and then Alexander Albon. But there you go, guys. Qualifying has finished, and it is Lewis Hamilton on pole position. Let me just adjust this text quickly. But yeah, Lewis Hamilton on pole from Valtteri Bottas second, Max Verstappen third. So we were right in the end, but it was very, very close. So there you go. Qualifying has finished. And then you got, Max Verstappen third, Sebastian Vettel is fourth, and then it's Pierre Gasly fifth, then Magnussen sixth, seventh Ricciardo. Great lap by Ricciardo, honestly, and I think, again, showing that he really is one of the best drivers on the grid at this track for sure. And then you got Kvyat 8th, Sainz 9th, and then in P10, and there you go.
How is he not out?
It is incredible. And here you go. It doesn't seem that hard, though, from the camera, but then again, it is slowed down. But it looked...
There was more rear-end contact.
Yeah, if it was a front... Or, you see that? The Bottas slide.
That's where Bottas...
So the final corner... through Portier. The final corner before the tunnel turned in, and the rear end, wouldn't have it, and it almost spun him into the barrier, where Senna famously crashed in 1988. But there you go. I'm going to quickly post a picture of the pole position, man. There you go, Lewis Hamilton. Great final lap. And deservedly, you have to say, getting pole position. But guys, right now, for the next half an hour or so, in the live chat, make sure with us to react to what has happened in qualifying today. What do you think about the battle at the top for pole position? By the way, thank you to Still I Rise 4485 for a $2 donation. Thank you very much for that. But yeah, react with us, guys, with what you thought of qualifying here at Monaco. And for the next half an hour or so, we will talk about what happened. And also, I'm going to let you guys know now, there won't be a live review of qualifying later. What I'm going to do is I'm going to record it. We're going to record the part of the stream where I get into a review of qualifying in the reaction part of this stream. And then after the stream is finished, I will upload that part of the stream to the channel. So anyone who misses that part of the stream can hear what I have to say about what happened in qualifying today. But yeah, for the next 15 to 20 minutes or so, let's see what you guys have to say. Right. Let's just see. Let's go to the start of these comments. Boo Radley says, thanks Chazza, go Ricardo, go. Astro Stevo says 7th for Danny Rick, impressive given his machinery. Indeed. CJ Knight Racing says, so does Hamilton still want this race axed now then, or happy with it being on the calendar now? Good drive by Ricardo, says America's Choice. Joshua Forrester says, welcome to the Mercedes show. I think at the end of the day, as we kind of suspected, when it mattered most, I think they definitely had enough of a car to get pole position. Red Bull at times were close, but consistently not close enough. Sean O'Mahony says, Vettel had a shocker and Ferrari management had a shocker too. You have to say, Nib, not only in qualifying, but today, Sebastian Vettel has been, compared to his standards, been terrible. He's made so many mistakes, locking up, crashing, hitting the barrier. He's been all over the place, hasn't he?
He really has. Really poor by Sebastian Vettel today and Ferrari. I mean, I've said it for the past number of weeks now. Ferrari are an utter shambles, and you could literally make a movie, seriously, about how much of a joke Ferrari are. You could just make a catalogue, a whole entire video of all of the mistakes they've made, even probably since Singapore 2017. All the mistakes that the drivers made, and it's just going to be one big comedy video. Ferrari are fantastic. They're a fantastic team. They are Formula One. Ferrari are Formula One to many people, and they are just an utter shambles at the moment.
Absolutely. I don't think the team was at fault as much as the drivers today, but the drivers still are, with the team as a team. As Lewis Hamilton has said before with Mercedes, and it is true, even though it can be a bit cringe-worthy at times. You win as a team and you lose as a team, and Ferrari today definitely lost as a team. They should have been really 4th and 5th on the grid, but they are 4th and 16th. So there you go. Nuggets says P6 for Magnussen is insane. I have to say, shout out to K-Mag. Great lap, and great day for K-Mag. Still I Rise says Hamilton is just legendary. Crystal Racing says absolutely mental. We don't actually know if there was any damage to Vettel's car, but you've got to say, if there was at the end of Q1 when he touched the barrier, there should have been there. So there probably is, but he continued on anyway, I think. So yeah. Let me find some more comments here. Mohammed says Leclerc home race nightmare P16. Absolutely. I think he qualified in a higher position last year in the Sauber. I think he was in a higher position on the grid. I think he was like P12 or P13. That just shows you how much of a disaster today was. Absolutely terrible for Charles Leclerc. And I think, yeah, Ferrari not that quick this weekend, but he would have most likely been P5 or P6 on the grid if it wasn't for what happened. So, yeah, there you go. Crystal Racing says Vettel actually did well to get P4. Yes and no. I mean, yeah, the Ferrari car is not as good as the Red Bull around this track, but also I think that has, Pierre Gasly's poor performance has a bit to do with that. Sebastian says, I can't stand it with this Ferrari team. Nuesh has some criticism of me and Nib. Says, you guys, honestly, a bit pathetic. Not even understanding Vettel and Leclerc were pushing as much as they can. So they were hitting the barrier and locking up. I thought you were unbiased. I was wrong. There's a difference between pushing hard and hitting the barrier, as I'm sure everyone knows when it comes to Grosjean and Maldonado. Do you want to say something, Nib? Oh, no, I don't think it does.
No, there's no need to entertain that sort of rubbish.
But yeah, there's a difference between pushing and crashing. Just look at, drivers like Maldonado and Grosjean. So, yeah, I mean, look at, Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas. They didn't touch the barrier today, and they were pushing so unbelievably hard to get pole position. So, yeah, there's a difference. And by the way, if you're a Formula One driver, because you're a Formula One driver, I would expect you to drive around Monaco without crashing. I know it's hard not to, but the best drivers are the ones that get as close to the barrier and extract as much speed out of the car as they can without crashing. So, yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. Right, let me find some more comments. Sebastian says everyone can see that Leclerc needed to go out. Ferrari get paid so much money yet can't get a strategist. I think he got called to the weighbridge, but I don't know if he was. This is the thing I want to find out. Was he?
I've got it here. Leclerc told Craig Slater on Sky that he has no idea why Ferrari didn't send him out again for a final run. They thought he was safe for some reason.
Can I ask? Does it say when when did he come out of the weighbridge? Like, was there enough time left to come out?
Yeah, he was sitting in the garage. There was more than enough time for him to come out. They thought he was safe, and they kept him in the garage.
Well, that is where Ferrari
is shambles.
Yeah.
Sorry, I said it.
That's where I have to agree. I thought it was because he was in the weighbridge the entire time, but no. He got weighed, went back into the Ferrari pits, and they just sat him there. We could see that he was at risk, and that was before Sebastian Vettel dropped into the drop zone and came back out on track to quickly get into the next part of qualifying. How does a Naki Rueda work at Ferrari? How? We could do that job. But no.
I literally seen it happening in front of our eyes. You could see that there was going to be at least 4 or 5 drivers who could improve, and the time, and that he wasn't out there. I could see unfolding in front of our eyes. I think most people could, and somehow the people who were paid thousands and thousands of pounds and euros to do their job somehow couldn't.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. It's like they don't. It's like the first time they've been to Monaco. That's the way they were acting. Everyone knows at Monaco, the track at the end of the session ramps up in terms of grip. It gets a lot faster, and also the time gap between everyone is very close in the early parts of qualifying because some teams are not going as quick as they can do to save on fuel and engine power. For example, teams like Mercedes. But other teams are pushing so incredibly hard to get into the next part of qualifying. And that's why the Q1 normally at Monaco, even if there's a dominant team, Q1 at Monaco normally does see a very close, in terms of lap time, a very close field. And it is like they've only been to Monaco this weekend. Like, they've never been to Monaco before, and they don't understand those factors of, grip, tire, the grip of the track ramping up and the time difference between everyone. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible that a team like Ferrari can be that stupid. It's unbelievable. I mean, I'm looking at it now. From 1st to 17th was 7/10 of a second. 7/10 of a second from 1st place to 17th place. Like, I don't understand how they felt they were going to get through. Even if you do, go out there just in case to make sure you get through. But no, I don't get it with Ferrari.
We need to move off Ferrari.
Yeah, I think we do. I just can't believe that Inaki Rueda. I can't believe he hasn't been sacked. How? What does he need to do to get sacked? I really wonder. Right, I'll read out a few more comments and then I'll start getting ready to record this review part of the stream. Right, let me read some comments. The Gizmo 1122 says, I think Ferrari as a team are just a total mess from the board to the drivers. The team is under massive pressure and no one are coping with it. Vettel had to push to the limit to save Ferrari. Yeah, they are a mess. They're an absolute mess, and it's probably going to get worse as the season goes on. Kurt Borman says Ferrari have been pathetic this season an absolute joke. They remind me of Manchester United. Well, yeah, very similar in terms of sheer disappointment and just pathetic results compared to what they should be getting. They are both a shambles, and the irony is that they both are red and letting the fans down. Yeah, it's a good comparison, but yeah, Ferrari disaster. Skyman says Lewis did what was expected from him. Bottas was doing great, just like Verstappen. Vettel optimized what he had. I agree, even though he did hit the barrier quite a few times and lock up quite a few times. And Gasly is too slow compared to Verstappen. Indeed, with Pierre Gasly, too slow. He should have been beating Vettel today. He should have. There's no excuses. I mean, Verstappen, I think, was, what, a third of a second clear of Vettel? Yeah, a third of a second clear. That's a good enough gap to fit into for Gasly, considering the car he has. But no, he doesn't. But at least he's not in a Charles Leclerc-like position. So it could be worse, and he was worse in the early part of this season. So he's doing better, but, you know, nothing too great. I am just going to quickly post a graphic on the screen. I might as well get rid of some of this stuff. I'm going to post a graphic on the screen of the final results of qualifying. So let me get that up. A minute. So here you go. The final results are that. The Lewis Hamilton on pole position from Valtteri Bottas second, Max Verstappen third, Vettel fourth, Gasly fifth, Magnussen sixth, Ricciardo seventh, Kvyat eighth, Sainz ninth, Albon 10th, Hulkenberg in P11, then Norris 12th, Grosjean 13th, 14th Raikkonen, 15th Giovinazzi, 16th Leclerc, what disaster, 17th Perez, 18th Stroll. I think Perez, to be honest, did well to get as close as he did to getting into Q2. Stroll, 18th. Yeah, the car's poor, but 6/10 off his teammate and only half a second ahead of Russell. I think that shows who the better driver is between Stroll and Russell. And then Russell 19th and Robert Kubica in 20th place. So those are the results. But what I'm going to do now is start setting up this review with some pictures. So Nib, whilst I do that, please, if you would, read out as many comments as you can from the chat.
Yes, Astro Sevo saying Perez just a single spot above Stroll. Surprising? Well, that's just purely because the Racing Point doesn't quite have the pace. The Gizmo is saying, do you think Verstappen is shining because of Gasly's bad performance and therefore under no pressure from a teammate? I think Max has been one of the best drivers so far this season. He's really getting the best out of the car, and I think he's showing just really how good of a driver he is. Of course, Gasly is underperforming, and to be fair, he is getting better and better every single race, although I think he might have been a little bit closer in Barcelona. But I think Max, yeah, I agree. He really is under no pressure. But when you're under pressure from a teammate, you're usually pushed to perform even better. So for Max to still be performing at the level that he is still a great achievement. The Trotters is saying Lewis is such a tremendous driver, killer instinct. Indeed, as I said in our little predictions, he'll get that lap out of the bag when it matters, and he did indeed, beating Bottas by just under a tenth of a second. Hamilton is quite clearly the best driver on the grid, and today he was pushed by his teammate Valtteri Bottas. I thought Bottas had pole for a moment, but no, Hamilton did snatch it out of his hands. Gin Plus X99 saying Magnussen quality of the day. Indeed, fantastic performance by Kevin Magnussen, out qualifying Daniel Ricciardo, Danny Kvyat, Carlos Sainz, and Alex Albon in Q3 to be best of the rest and to start P6, of course, for the Monaco Grand Prix tomorrow afternoon. JPZ saying go Lewis. I'm sure there are now lots of Lewis Hamilton fans around the world. Dennis saying Verstappen did not improve in sector 3. I don't think on his final lap he improved anywhere. Indeed, I think it might have been a um, bit of a costly last lap there by Max, but he certainly did a very good job today. I thought he was in with a chance of battling with the Mercedes in Q3, but he just was not there. Are you ready now to go ahead, Chaz?
Not yet. I'm just getting the pictures in order, and then I'll be sorted. But give it another 5 minutes, and then I'll be ready. So yeah, keep reading out everyone's comments.
Okay. Thomas Hill saying everybody on Sky keeps mentioning rain. Hope it does. Well, yes, there was a rain initially predicted for Sunday, early in the week, and then they changed it for Saturday, and now it's gone back to Sunday again. So who knows if there will be rain tomorrow in Monaco? Sharman LP says, "How come Ricardo keeps destroying Hulk in qualifying?" Well, he's just quite seemingly getting the better out of the car. The last two races, he's really shown Hulkenberg up in qualifying. And of course, there was a lot of criticism by some people in this chat saying that Hulkenberg was destroying Ricardo, in fact, but how the tables have turned. The Trot is saying, oh, I've just lost his comment, but now I've got it again. Very good performance by Max in the Red Bull. Indeed, very good job by Max, beating his teammate and getting the best out of the car that he possibly could. And as Skyman mentions, it's his best qualification in Monaco. So well done to Max Verstappen. Cody says there is a deep underlying problem at Ferrari that seems to have impacts on car design, driver pressure, bad strategy decisions. The problem is much deeper than just changing the team boss. I think you pretty much said it all. Everything that has gone wrong and could go wrong this season for Ferrari has gone wrong. The car design is quite clearly flawed. They've gone for a very efficient, quick car in a straight line, which we've seen before when teams try to do. It just doesn't work. You need the most downforce you possibly can get in these regulations with these cars, and Ferrari don't have that. Mercedes have that. That is why they are the best. But then, as you've mentioned there, the drivers keep making mistakes. There's poor strategy decisions. I'll say it again: Ferrari are a shambles. Astro Stevo saying, "Can Leclerc get onto the podium tomorrow?" Unless there is some sort of miracle, I don't think he will be getting onto the podium. Quite frankly, Miss Tube saying Ferrari front wing is the main cause of the understeer. Alfa Romeo has the same problem. Two worst front wing designs in F1. It, though that sort of front wing just doesn't produce much downforce at all. It is more to create outwash to get all the air around and out of the front wheel, not to create downforce. Where Mercedes and Red Bull have gone for a different front wing design, which produces more downforce. Also still does that job of creating that outwash effect. And quite clearly, Ferrari are struggling with understeer and struggling with that suspension. Of course, was seen during the weekend couple of pictures of the Mercedes suspension and just exactly why it is so good. So yes, understeer and the suspension, big problems for the Ferrari. Surely we're due. Astro Stevo says, surely we're due for a wet race. About time for one. Indeed, we haven't had a wet race in quite some time. I actually can't remember off the top of my head when the last wet race was. I know, of course, 2016 was wet around Monaco, but the last time I remember a wet race, I can't quite remember, to be honest. Sayagara saying Mattia Binotto out, Maurizio Arriva Bene in. Well, at the moment, the technical director of Ferrari and, of course, the team principal of Ferrari quite clearly has not done a good enough job of getting the technical side of things set up. And there's already been talks during the week that who's the guy at Alfa Romeo of the former Ferrari technical chief coming back to the team,
Simone
Simona
Resta.
Resta.
Yeah.
Yes, thanks for that, Chaz. There's already been talks of him potentially coming back during this season So Ferrari are trying everything they possibly can do to improve their car. Geordie is saying the W10 can become the most dominant car of all time now. Well, the way that this season is heading, it very well could be. Mercedes' issue over the past couple of seasons has been their slow corner performance, but now their car is good everywhere, absolutely good everywhere. It's the best car on the grid by some mile in every aspect, except for the engine, where Ferrari have found some magic um, to become much faster. Mercedes, just quite simply and quite easily, the best team in the sport. Erudite saying Magnussen less than 2/10 of a second off for Ferrari of Sebastian Vettel. Indeed, and it's not the first time that Haas have been very close to Ferrari this year. I remember they were about 4/10 off Leclerc in Melbourne, and they weren't too far off at stages last week, the last race in Barcelona. Tross is saying that Tifosi will start rioting soon. Well, if there hasn't been a riot already, I'd be quite surprised, as for sure, as there are many heads exploding, as we have seen from someone in the chat earlier who was not too impressed with us. But someone who is impressed with another driver is Red Surf Boy, saying he is impressed with Alex Albon. And indeed, although he was 3/10 off of his teammate, he still got into Q10, into Q3, and was able to put himself in a very good position to score points in tomorrow's Grand Prix, which is what you have to do, of course, because Saturday's qualifying is also important. Reme Daniel saying it's Monaco, which is a killer for these cars' reliability, capability, and also the fact that driver concentration is key to success around the streets of Monaco. Indeed, of course, we've seen before at this race and at this track that one lapse in concentration is all it takes to end up in a wall. And of course, that is why Monaco is, of course, one of the hardest races, if not the hardest race on the calendar.
What I think thanks for reading out all those comments, mate. I'm almost come to the end here, so thank you for doing that. But I think, yeah, as I just set up these final couple pictures, I just want to say again, before I get into this review of qualifying, don't forget, guys, to subscribe for the race watch along tomorrow, which me and Nib will, of course, be covering. Hopefully it rains, because if it does, then boy, are you in for a thrilling Grand Prix, because whenever it rains at Monaco, something crazy does tend to happen. So yeah, make sure to come along to that tomorrow. We are going to be going live at 1 p.m. That's exactly an hour before the race starts, and then we'll be live for probably an hour after the race finishes. So we'll be live probably for, I don't know, 3.5 to 4 hours tomorrow for the Monaco Grand Prix. So again, don't forget to come on to that, and don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. Make sure, if you want to either subscribe, bottom right of the screen, you can do it right there, or you can click on my channel name, go to the homepage and click subscribe, and also, importantly, hit the notifications bell to get notified as to when I go live or stream. And also, for notifications for my videos and streams, don't forget to join our Discord server, which is, there's a link in the description to the Discord. I think it's third from bottom is the link. That is the best place for notifications for my videos and live streams. So if you join that server, that's yeah, the best place for notifications for my videos and streams. And of course, as I've said plenty of times before, that is the hardcore Chazza HDF1 community. And also, don't forget to hit this video with a like. But I'll read out a couple more comments from people in the chat, and then I'll quickly get into this review of qualifying, which will be going up as a recorded video quite soon after we come off here for the qualifying watch along. So I'll read out a couple comments from you guys, and then we'll get into that. Sharman LP says, well, I guess Hulkenberg can't beat Ricciardo in qualifying anymore. Yeah, well, he only out-qualified him, what, once? and that was Australia. But I think we can all agree, and I think it's because of the whole, home pressure and expectation. I think Ricciardo was just off it that weekend. But after that, I think Ricciardo has quite clearly been the better driver compared to Nico Hülkenberg. And right, let me read out a couple more. Crystal Racing says, I was secretly hoping that Alpha would embarrass Ferrari today, but if Vettel loses the plot tomorrow, you never know. Indeed, if Vettel has a turn 1 crash, then Ferrari could end up scoring no points tomorrow, because I don't think, by the way, Charles Leclerc is really going to score any points, because if you compare it, say, to Max Verstappen last year, he started at the back. Now, he finished in P9, which is not that great for him, obviously, but he was... Last year, Max Verstappen, when coming through the field, he was in the best car on track. Charles Leclerc is not. He does have the straight line speed, but he doesn't have the grip to keep up. So I think Charles Leclerc might not even finish in the points tomorrow. I honestly think that. I think it is going to take something mega from Charles Leclerc to get a point. The fact I'm saying that is honestly embarrassing, but there you go. But now I'll get into this review of qualifying. I'll just quickly have a drink. I'll be back just a moment.
And just before you do move on, I've got some further quotes here by Charles Leclerc. This is what Charles Leclerc was saying to Ferrari. I asked whether they were sure. They said, we think we are in. I said, that this being Leclerc, shouldn't we go again? And they decided not to put him out. So Leclerc thought he should have went out. Ferrari didn't. What an absolute disaster. But anyway, I think we should move on to your review of qualifying.
Yeah, we will do that right now. So hold on a minute. Right, so now let's get into the review of qualifying for the 2019 Monaco Grand Prix. And as ever, it was a very exciting session around the streets of Monte Carlo. But first, before we get into the teams, let's look at the results of qualifying at Monaco. So, on pole position, Lewis Hamilton from Valtteri Bottas in second. Max Verstappen finished up in third, with Vettel fourth, Gasly fifth, Magnussen 6th, Ricciardo 7th, Kvyat 8th, Carlos Sainz 9th, Alexander Albon in 10th, and then Hülkenberg, Norris, Grosjean, Raikkonen, and Antonio Giovinazzi were knocked out in Q2. And then knocked out in Q1, shockingly, Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari at his home Grand Prix, then Sergio Perez, Lance Stroll, George Russell, and Robert Kubica. But let's now go into the teams. Now, Mercedes, again, getting pole position and another front row lockout. Great for them, of course. Now, it wasn't easy because Max Verstappen at times was very close to Valtteri Bottas and Lewis Hamilton, but when it mattered most, Max could not match the speed of the Silver Arrow car. And when it came to the qualifying battle at the end between Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas, it was Hamilton who came out on top. Valtteri Bottas, I have to say, his first run in Q3 was fantastic, a 1:10.2. And at the time was a new lap record. But then, after Valtteri Bottas made a mistake into Portier on his final run, Lewis Hamilton banged out the lap and took pole on a 1:10.1. Very deserved for Lewis Hamilton. And for the first time since, I'd have to say, Australia, he got his qualifying lap absolutely right. And Mercedes are really set to dominate the Grand Prix tomorrow. They do have the best car. And I would be honestly surprised if they don't win tomorrow's 2019 Monaco Grand Prix. But next up is Ferrari, who you have to say had a terrible session. Now, Sebastian Vettel in P4 had a very messy day. Of course, in practice 3, crashed at turn 1 at Saint-Devote and missed a lot of practice 3. Did get out for qualifying, but did make a few errors. He touched the wall at the exit of the swimming pool, and then on the entry to back in Q3, hit the barrier quite hard, but was lucky to get away with it and ended up in P4. And honestly, I think Sebastian Vettel did the best he could with the car he did have today. But Charles Leclerc, P16 for number 16. What a disaster. And it doesn't really come down to Charles Leclerc and it being his fault. It comes down to Ferrari. Charles Leclerc, I think after his first couple runs in Q1 was about P6 or P7. Then he got called to be weighed by the FIA. He was, and then was put back in the Ferrari pits. Now, we could all see that he was at risk of being knocked out. Even Charles Leclerc thought he could get knocked out and he should go out again. But Ferrari, with their famous strategy and with their infamous strategist Inaki Rueda, decided to not go out and to take a risk that did not pay off. And I could see him being eliminated coming a mile off, because the track in Monaco, as we know, ramps up a lot, and he fell foul of that. Ferrari again, such a disaster. There's such a disgrace, honestly, this season. They can't get anything right. How Inaki Rueda is still at Ferrari, I do not know. I honestly don't know. Please comment down below, guys. Why is Inaki Rueda, for you, at Ferrari still? Let me know, because I do not get how he has not been fired a long time ago and how he can't be fired right now. He's so poor at what he does. But for Ferrari, not good enough as a team. And tomorrow is not going to be a good race at all. In fact, it will be quite a tough one. Next up, though, is Red Bull, who I think with Max Verstappen did the best they could. P3 and about half a second off pole. Max, again, in 2019, getting the best out of his Red Bull car. And that's all you can really ask of Max Verstappen to do. And I think he did do that today, so great for him. And then Pierre Gasly in P5. I think Pierre could have got into P4, because I think the Red Bull is definitely faster than the Ferrari around Monaco. But as we've seen in 2019, Pierre Gasly has been underperforming quite a lot. So not exactly a surprise that he hasn't put it in P4 there when he should have. But there you go, Red Bull 3rd and 5th, and they're looking good, I think, for the Grand Prix tomorrow. But now let's quickly get into the midfield. First, starting off with Renault. A better qualifying, a much better qualifying than I was expecting for Renault. P7 and P11. Daniel Ricciardo, similar to Max Verstappen, getting the best out of the car that he does have, and getting a result that was really, I think, for Renault, after Thursday practice, where they were so poor, it was unexpected for them to end up P7 with their best car, but they did. And Daniel Ricciardo did great. Hülkenberg, I think, will be disappointed to get knocked out in P11. I think the car was definitely quick enough for a top 10 finish, but Hülkenberg missed out. But for Renault, things are looking better. Let's hope for them in that constructors fight they can close the gap to P4 on the constructors tomorrow, which they absolutely have to do. Talking of P4 on the constructors, let's go on to the team that are holding P4 on the constructors, McLaren. I think McLaren got the best they could out of their car, ending up qualifying in P9 and P12, I believe. I was not expecting that after practice on Thursday and practice on Saturday morning. I didn't think they would be that competitive when it came to qualifying, but they were. And Carlos Sainz, a guy who is famously great around Monaco, once again produced what he needed to when it mattered, and did a great job, I think, to get into P9. Lando Norris, yeah, he could have done better, but I don't think Monaco is one of his best tracks. But McLaren, a good qualifying, and yeah, they definitely do. If they're going to pull away further in P4 on the constructors, they need to build on that qualifying result. Alfa Romeo next. Everything up to qualifying was looking very good for them. They looked like they could be a top 10 runner, but ultimately disappointed and ended up in P14 and P15. That's where I thought they would be coming into the weekend, but after Thursday practice and Saturday practice 3, they were looking better than that, but they ended up where I thought they would be in the end, P14 and P15. And, well, going into the Grand Prix, I don't think things are looking that great. I don't think the Alpha is going to be that great in terms of race pace, and I expect Antonio Giovinazzi to get a grid penalty for a clear block on Nico Hülkenberg. He should get a penalty. It was so obvious, blocking Hülkenberg on the entry to the Rascasse. And not looking great for Alpha after qualifying and going into the Grand Prix tomorrow. For Haas, though, for at least one of their drivers, looking good. Kevin Magnussen, one of the stars of the day, P6 in the Haas, not that far off Pierre Gasly and Sebastian Vettel either. Great job, and he really has, again, showcased how good of a driver he has been in the last couple of years and why he is very, very quick. And that is such a great result for Haas, because after Australia and after the 3 consecutive races in Bahrain, Shanghai and Baku where they didn't score points, they had to start responding to that poor form, and it seems as though they are after that massive update for them at the Spanish Grand Prix with plenty of new parts. So great for K-Mag. For Grosjean, not so good, but I don't think Roman really got it hooked up at all around Monaco this weekend. But for K-Mag, great result, and he should be in, I think, for a strong Grand Prix tomorrow. Next up, Toro Rosso. I don't think qualifying for Toro Rosso was as good as it could have been, but it was still good. P8 and P10 for them, Kvyat ahead of Albon. But as I said, it could have been better, because I think coming into qualifying, they really did have a good opportunity of being at the front of the midfield like Kevin Magnussen and Daniel Ricciardo are. But in the end, didn't quite have the speed when it mattered in qualifying 3. But still, P8 and P10 on the grid is great for them. And I believe that is their first double Q3 appearance of 2019. So great for Toro Rosso. And they are looking very strong for a strong double points finish in Monaco tomorrow. And Racing Point next up. Racing Point, they do have, as I've been saying this weekend, the worst car in the midfield, and they showed that again, qualifying 17th and 18th. Nothing they could really do. And in tomorrow's Grand Prix, I expect it to get even worse for that team, because I don't think they'll have good race pace either. That team, Racing Point, has a lot of work to do. And last of all, of course, is Williams, who are at the back. But that is it, guys, for the review of qualifying for the 2019 Monaco Grand Prix. Tomorrow is, of course, race day. Don't forget to join us for the race watch along tomorrow. It sure is, if there is rain, which is reported to be coming, and if it does come, it sure is going to be exciting. So there you go. That is the review of qualifying. Let me unmute Nib now. And now, let me just, there you go. And actually, I'll do something different. I'll put this back up, the results of qualifying. We'll read out a few more comments, and then we'll come to the end of the stream. And then we will, I'll upload what I've just recorded there as the review of qualifying. And the reason I'm going to do that is because, of course, plenty of people can't always catch these watch-alongs, and it's, very long streams. They can't always see it. So that's why I'm clipping that part of the stream. Right, let's read out 3 more comments, and then we'll end it here. Someone saying here, Lewis is a great driver. I put Verstappen and Lewis on the same talent level. The only ones really on top in terms of raw talent. So far this year, Max Verstappen is definitely right up there as one of the best in the sport. Not even a doubt for me about that. Dan saying Verstappen the new Senna. I'd wait on that before I say anything like that. Honestly, that's a very high expectation. Let me just read in the comments here what you guys are saying. Just trying to find a couple good final comments. There's a lot of debate for some reason going on about Lewis Hamilton and Michael Schumacher. I understand it, but I don't think Lewis is there quite yet. Just saw a comment there. Ferrari front wing is useless. Yeah, it is. It really, really is. Right, let me find a couple more comments. A lot of debate for some reason about Hamilton and Schumacher still. Skyman says Mercedes has the best car. Look at Bottas. I see your point. I don't fully agree with it though. I think Valtteri has been very good this year. He's been right there with Lewis Hamilton without doubt. And right, let's find one final comment. And the final comment will go to Simon Cragland, who says Vettel has lost his edge. As I've said before, I honestly feel like Bottas would beat Vettel if they were driving for the same team. You know what? That's an interesting debate. Would Sebastian Vettel beat Bottas on the same team? I think Valtteri would have a very good chance about qualifying Vettel, because I think Vettel, when it comes to qualifying, has really lost his way. But I think definitely Sebastian, in terms of his driving, is going more downhill than uphill. But I think now we'll come to the end of the qualifying watch along for the 2019 Monaco Grand Prix. Thank you guys for coming along. We had almost 1,100 people watching live. Thank you all so much for that. That's what I can't even think how much of my subs that is. That's what, not a quarter. Is it a quarter? Yeah, it's a quarter.
Yeah, that is a quarter.
Yeah, I was thinking it was a quarter. Yeah, a quarter of my subs watching a stream live. That is absolutely unbelievable, and I can't thank you guys enough. Thank you so, so much. And if you are new, then don't forget to subscribe for more content like this, as me and Nib will be live tomorrow at 1:10 for the race watch along for the 2019 Monaco Grand Prix. Hopefully it rains. If it does, we are in for a 2-hour thriller, I think, in Monaco. Nib, thank you so much for coming along and helping out. Great as always.
Thanks, mate. It's always good to be on stream and, of course, doing this with you. And thanks to everyone in the chat for your support and, of course, for coming and watching this qualifying watch along.
Yeah, thank you for emphasizing the watch along part. But yeah, thank you guys for coming along. And again, we'll be around tomorrow. With that qualifying review I just done, that will be uploaded probably within the next hour as a 10 or 11 minute review of qualifying. So that'll be coming up very soon for anyone who hasn't caught it yet. But yeah, there you go. That is qualifying today in Monaco. Yeah, we'll be around tomorrow. Don't forget to subscribe. Bottom right of the screen, click on my channel name also and go to my homepage and click subscribe and hit the notifications bell. Don't forget to like this video and comment down below what you thought of this video, and comment down below what do you think of qualifying for the 2019 Monaco Grand Prix. As well, don't forget to join the Discord server, link below in the description. That's the best place for notifications for my videos and streams, and that is the hardcore Chazza HD F1 community. And also, me and Nib did a tech analysis video yesterday where we looked at all the new upgrades for the teams after the Spanish Grand Prix. And if you are interested in all the new parts for all the teams, the link below is in the description. Make sure to also check that out. And follow me on Twitter at Chaz6110 for updates as to what I'm doing on the channel. And check out my website, chazzahd.com, for more content like this. But guys, until the 2019 Monaco Grand Prix tomorrow afternoon, it has been me, Chazza HD. Goodbye.